If you love the Two Mics podcast, you'll love the live show. Weekday overnights from 1am on DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM and via the TalkSport app. TalkSport, your Premier League station with exclusive commentaries every weekend.
What an absolute corker!
TalkSport.
Right, folks, this is a new podcast from the Two Mics, and I'm going to give you old energy boy MG to introduce it.
Yeah, we've edited out all the nonsense from Mike Porky, so it might be a bit shorter than usual. What do you call those sort of military barracks that were set up for refugees at the time?
Butler's holiday camps.
Nissen huts, I think they were called.
Nissen huts. Mark Wahlberg, is he famous? Mark Wahlberg?
Mark Wahlberg, yeah, you met him.
Hey, Clan doesn't know.
Did it?
And then went down through Conway and Aberystwyth.
Yes.
Well,
you run out of place names.
No, Aberystwyth.
You said that.
Oh, I said that already.
This is TalkSport. We are the Two Mics, and it's time to say a very, very good morning at the end of another great week to Mr. Mike, Porky Parry. Very good morning to you, Mr. Parry.
A very good morning. Good to be with you, Mike. I have to say, I do not share your sense of elation, and that's what it sounds like.
What do you mean, my sense of elation?
The three English clubs have got through to the last 16 of the weakest European competition we've ever had.
No, this is not the weakest European competition. The competition gets stronger and stronger every year. Don't forget there is a prize at the end, which is, a place in the Champions League. There's an awful lot of teams in it now who are pretty good teams, and it's going to be very exciting. I mean, whenever Everton was still in it, you were saying to me that, you really loved the Europa League.
No.
Now,
I never said that. I always said it got in the way of a decent domestic challenge, for a top four place in the FA Cup.
It's a bit like the basketball, which is currently on TV. Memphis are playing SMU. We might keep people updated. That's 35-33 to Memphis at the moment. Why are you looking at me like that?
Sorry, what was that again?
I'm saying it's a bit like the basketball.
Sorry, did my eyes glaze over
They did,
there?
yeah. But I mean, there's nothing unusual about that.
What were you telling the audience?
There's some college basketball on, which
and
is
who's
very
playing
exciting.
again?
Memphis are playing SMU.
Who's SMU?
I'm not entirely sure who SMU are.
Hey,
but U certainly stands for university. It could be Southern
Mexico?
I don't know. Not Southern Mexico, no, I don't think so. No. South Mass, maybe? Might be South Mass.
Southern Massachusetts?
Could be that.
Southern Massachusetts?
Yeah, it could be. I don't know.
Who knows? Anyway, who cares? More to the point, who cares?
What my point was going to be that, it's like when you have professional basketball on the NBA, you only kind of I only watch it when it gets down to the last quarter. The Europa League starts to get interesting. Now it's down to the last 16.
Yeah, this basketball we've got on, right? Yeah. The only reason there's any link or connection between what's happening there and us is because our wonderful lady on the buttons tonight will see SMU, Andrea. SMU 35, Memphis 37. You know what she'll probably do now, just to liven the show up in the first few minutes?
What do you think?
She'll probably play Help Me Information, This is Memphis, Tennessee. Because that's the only interesting thing about anything to do with Memphis.
Really?
The fact that Elvis was born there.
What about Memphis Depay?
No, that's not interesting. That's not interesting.
Memphis Depay plays for Manchester United, who are in the last 16 of the Europa League.
Memphis Depay is not as interesting as Elvis, right? Elvis has left the building, right?
Elvis is dead.
Elvis is dead, but his house goes on in Graceland in Memphis, Tennessee.
It does.
So that's the only interesting thing. The fact that
You've been there, of course, haven't you?
Where?
Memphis.
No. Yes, I have. Yes, been to Memphis. But I haven't been to Graceland.
Well,
no.
Because remember when I asked you about the two planes that were sitting in the front?
That's right. Yeah.
You didn't realise there were two planes.
No, I
haven't
been to Graceland. I don't go to dead people's graves. Well, apart from
what about live people's graves?
Well, no. I mean, don't be ridiculous. Now,
it's known as tautology.
No. What I'm saying is the only possible connection for any flicker of light about you mentioning this game. You don't even know who Memphis are playing, but you decided to get down with the kids in American sport.
I was making an allegory.
SMU.
No, not at all.
35, Memphis 30. An allegory.
I was making an allegory.
You're making an allegory.
What I was saying was that,
Perhaps you'd like to explain to our millions of listeners what an allegory is,
Well,
please.
An allegory is basically making a comparison with something which is similar, but not the same, in order to explain some point or other, which is what I'm trying to do for you.
What are you trying to explain?
Is that a good enough explanation for you? Why are you looking at me as if, oh my God, he knows what allegory means?
No, because I still don't understand why you invoked the fact...
Well, if you'd listen instead of just spouting off every 5 seconds...
The fact that there's a basketball game on,
Well, you would know that my point was that the only good part of a basketball game is the final quarter, right? You don't watch the first 3 quarters because to be honest, it's not that interesting.
No,
the last
it's not
quarter,
interesting
as
at
it
all.
gets towards the buzzer, which is the end of the game, that's when it gets interesting. Similarly, I'm saying to you, the Europa League now has teams such as Fenerbahce, still in it, right? Athletic Bilbao, are still in it. Sparta Prague. Lazio, who I'm sure you've heard of. Bayern Leverkusen, still in it. We've got Valencia.
The Prague Spring, eh?
Valencia, your mate Gary Neville, they won 4-0 last night, making it 10-0 on aggregate, which is not bad, right? You've got Shakhtar Donetsk. Okay, you've got Basel still in it. You've got Borussia Dortmund still in it. You've got Sevilla still in it.
Do you know the only interesting fact there?
What?
You mentioned that Prague is still in it, right?
Yeah.
Now, you know what that does? That stirs my intellectual historian juices.
Why?
The Prague Spring. What was the Prague Spring?
Are you talking about the time when the Russians marched in and the locals got themselves involved in a bit of an uprising?
That's right, but that was after the Prague Spring. The Prague Spring was Comrade Dubček, right? Who decided...
Dubček.
Who decided that they were going to break away from the yoke of communist rule and started to liberate his country.
And this was in the 60s, wasn't it?
It was in the 60s, 69, I think it was. And the minute they did that, the Russians said, no, you're not.
Yeah.
And they sent the tanks rolling just like they did in Hungary.
In 1956.
Exactly.
Yeah, funny enough,
I
was talking to somebody about that today.
Were you?
Yeah, because I had a Hungarian waiter.
Oh, really?
In this restaurant.
That's interesting. A Hungarian waiter.
Yeah. And so I was telling him about my time with the great Louis up in Louis' Patisserie in Hampstead, who, of course, escaped from the Hungarian yoke of communism in 1956, armed only with his recipe book. He and a load of his mates managed to get out of the country and come to Britain, where they were put up, funnily enough, in the old, what do you call those sort of military barracks that were set up for refugees at the time.
Butlins holiday camps.
Nissen huts, I think they were called.
Nissen huts,
And they lived in all of those for a while.
But Billy Butlin took them over and turned them into holiday camps.
Yeah, he did. All fascinating stuff. But we got a lot of football to talk about because, of course,
actually, do you know what?
What?
Later on in the show, it's interesting you say you're talking to... Because they serve goulash in Hungary, don't they?
They certainly do. It's one of their national dishes.
So they serve goulash in your restaurant today?
No, it wasn't a Hungarian restaurant. It was a Hungarian waiter.
I tell you, it was interesting.
It was an Italian restaurant.
Studying my historical journals today, I came across, and I will talk about it later in the show because it's very interesting, I came across the tragic life story of the East German guard who jumped over the barbed wire as the Berlin Wall was going up. Do you remember the famous picture?
Yes, I think I do.
His rifle, which he had slung on his back, sort of leapt up in the air as he leapt over the barbed wire and made a run for it, and he was the only one who didn't get shot.
Yeah, I've got a couple of people telling me who's playing here today. SMU is Southern Methodist University.
Southern Methodist University.
From Dallas.
So you're now asking our millions of listeners to get involved.
No, not at all.
To get involved.
No, you're missing my point altogether.
Hang on. To get involved in a basketball game involving...
Southern Methodist University has nothing to do with a religious organisation.
Why are they called the Southern Methodist University?
Well, if you knew anything about the south of the United States, because you claim to have travelled around it extensively, right? You will know very well that, things like...
I've seen crocodiles, mate, in the Everglades, okay?
Right. Well, you may have seen crocodiles in the Everglades, but what you haven't seen, obviously, is the influence that quite a lot of religious organisations have.
Tell us about these Southern Methodists, then.
Well, the point is it's called Southern Methodist University, but it doesn't mean that it's a particularly Christian place.
It is.
No, it doesn't mean that.
Of course, it is.
It doesn't mean that. Well, it means that you can, particularly when it comes to the sports teams. I mean, they just play sport like everybody else.
Sorry, can I just give you a clue here, Mike? Harvard Law School.
Yeah.
What do you think they studied at Harvard Law School?
They studied law.
Exactly.
What, are you telling me that at Southern Methodist University they study Methodists? Don't be so ridiculous.
And theology.
No.
They study theology.
They don't. No, absolute
They do.
Rubbish. Not true.
It's a church-funded institution.
No, it's not. It's
they study religion and theology.
No, you're completely wrong about that.
You are a complete bird because you don't know what you're talking about.
That's a terrible word to use on the radio, by the way.
No, it's not.
Nevertheless, I won't take offence, as I never do. Are you all boned up on the Kennedys for this evening's quiz?
I haven't even referred to even one leaflet, pamphlet, book or journal. I don't need to.
Is that right?
I know intrinsically the history of the dynasty of the Kennedys.
OK, let me tell you what the Southern Methodist University is, right?
Oh, yeah, I'm so interested,
because, you're speaking completely and utterly balderdash about it, right?
How many...
It is a privately funded research university in University Park in Highland Park in Dallas.
That's right.
Now, who lived in Highland Park? Here's a quiz for you.
Highland Park in Dallas?
Yeah.
That would have been... Well, it wasn't J.R. Ewing, was it?
Well, no, he was a fictional character.
He lived in South Fork, yeah.
He was a fictional character.
Highland Park, Dallas, that would have been the home... right, now. LBJ?
No.
No, OK.
I mean, you were supposed to have gone there and covered the story. It was Margaret Thatcher's son... who lived there with his wife in Highland Park.
He did.
It was a very ritzy sort of neighbourhood of suburban Dallas.
Until he moved out because of the attention to Fort Worth, the other end of the highway.
Yeah.
And you cross the airport halfway down.
Surprisingly, you got that bit wrong as well.
Fort Worth,
anyway,
Dallas.
we've got to talk about the League Cup final, which is very exciting.
Ooh,
we've got to talk
yeah.
about the Europa League from last night and the Premier League. And guess what? There's only one thing that sort of puts all those in together.
What's
thing that binds them together.
What's that?
Everton.
Pardon?
Everton.
No, Everton are not bound together by the Europa League or the League Cup final.
No, because Everton are not in the Europa League.
No, we're not.
They're not in the League Cup final.
Cheated out of it.
They're not in the League Cup final.
Raheem Sterling.
And guess what? They're not even playing this weekend in the Premier League.
We are warm weather training in Dubai.
Oh, really?
To relaunch our assault on the FA Cup.
Do you think you make Phil Jagielkas over
By the
there?
way, I heard Jason. Heard Jason Cundy in the previous programme making the assumption that Chelsea are going to progress through to the semi-finals of the FA Cup.
Well,
very arrogant, unresearched.
Well, they will if they beat PSG.
And rather.
Well, they will if they beat PSG.
No, if they beat Everton. I said the FA Cup.
Oh, the FA Cup.
The FA Cup.
Oh, sorry, I thought you said the Champions League.
No, I said the FA Cup.
Yeah, well, I think they probably will beat Everton.
No, not rubbish. He said, oh, yeah. I mean, the fact that Jason has history with Chelsea is very well known. Does not give him the right to assume that Chelsea are going to get past Everton at Goodison. I can tell him now.
Right.
They won't.
Is that right? OK, well, we may hold you to that. Sadly, Everton are not involved this weekend, but nevertheless, Mr. Parry will be talking football. Coming up next on TalkSport.
Drive on Talk Sport, the UK's only sports-dedicated drive time with Sky Sports. The sharpest analysis on all the day's action from the giants of sport.
Shane Warne is with us on the show. How you doing, Shane?
G'day, guys. How are you?
Laser-guided comment and rapid reaction from a nation of sports fanatics.
Into the corner of the net.
Drive home with Darren Goff and Adrian Durham.
Who else?
Weekday afternoons from 4 on Talk Sport with Sky Sports, the home of the Barclays Premier League.
What do you think?
Oh, that's lovely on you, Jack.
Oh, yeah, it really suits you, Dad.
It's not too much?
No, it's lovely. It's really you.
Yeah, I like it.
Oh, it's a fixed rate tariff too.
I'm betting the other one.
Oh, yeah, that's dead nice.
You shop around for clothes, so why not for energy deals? Switching energy suppliers could save you up to £200. And with our independent guide and links to Ofgem approved comparison sites, it's never been easier. Visit goenergyshopping.co.uk.
Only one feature of the new Mini Cooper Clubman demands more attention than its striking design. Spacious interior, seating for 5, and satellite navigation as standard. And that's the stunning offer. So let your head be turned by the new Mini Cooper Clubman. From £239 a month, plus initial rental. Book a test drive at your nearest Mini Centre or mini.co.uk/offer. 48-month hire agreement from Mini Financial Services, £3,099 initial rental, subject to status, guarantees may be required. Available for new vehicles ordered by 31st of March and registered by 30th of June. Participating retailers only. Mileage and other conditions apply when you return the vehicle. Visit mini.co.uk/offer.
Oh, hello. I've got an email saying I've won, I think it's £1,000 or something. I don't know. Help.
It looks like you are a winner of £1 million.
No. I'm joking. Oh, I'm shaking.
Thanks to Mrs. Tyree, Noel Edmonds didn't win the Millionaire raffle. Now there are 2 chances to win in every lotto draw. Please, don't let it be him. Games, rules and procedures apply. Players must be 16 or over.
Roll up, ladies and gentlemen, and prepare to be amazed and astounded by Colin Murray's Carnival of Curiosities, featuring a feast of fascinating facts and a farrago of fiendish falsehoods to untangle from the tantalising truths as Mr. Murray delights and astonishes you with his assortment of amicable acquaintances. Don't miss Fact or Fiction every Thursday morning from 10 on Talk Sport with Regain for Men Extra Strength Scalp Foam, scientifically proven to help stop and even reverse hereditary hair loss. Contains minoxidil. Always read the label.
Sunday afternoon from 2. Exclusive national radio commentary of Manchester United versus Arsenal. Followed by full match commentary of the League Cup final. Liverpool versus Manchester City. Live on Talk Sport.
Long distance information to give me Memphis, Tennessee. Thank you. Help me find the party trying to get in touch with me. She could not leave her number, but I know who placed the call. My uncle took the message and he wrote it on the wall.
This is Talk Sport, we are the two Mikes. It is Porky Quiz night, of course, on the Kennedys. A bit of an American theme going on.
Yeah, how's the score, by the way, in the basketball, Mike?
I'm not sure.
How are the Southern Methodists doing?
The Southern Methodists...
Are they overcoming the Memphis mob?
The Southern Methodists were behind Memphis, and I believe they've gone to 44-45. Pretty close game, actually.
This is why I can't stand basketball.
Well, how about this, right?
Yeah.
Did you know, and obviously you didn't, because you've talked an absolute load of old cobblers about Southern Methodist University.
Yes.
It was selected in 2008 as the site of the George W. Bush Presidential Library.
Oh.
So, this kind of nonsense that you were trying to, expound about how it was, run by some kind of, mad Christian, sort of cult is entirely wrong.
He was a mad Christian.
7 degree... No, it's nothing to do with that.
He said God was guiding him when he invaded Iraq and displaced 7 million people.
Well, so did Tony Blair. But the point is that, that doesn't mean that it's run by some kind of cult. It's run by normal, what you would call academicians, I would say.
7-degree...
Academicians. 7-degree granting schools. The Cox School of Business, which is very well known. Dedmond College of Humanities and Science. Dedmond School of Law. Meadows School of the Arts. Annette Caldwell Simmons School of Education and Human Development. Lyle School of Engineering. I mean, shall I go on? It's got nothing to do with theology.
And have they got a Methodist church on the campus?
Nothing to do with theology.
Where's
I've no
the Methodist
idea.
church?
Their endowment of $1.5 billion as of June 30th, 2015, ranks among the largest endowments of any university in the United States and Canada.
Wow.
It makes it one of only 95 colleges and universities in the US with an endowment of $1 billion and above.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah.
I wanted to know all that. I hadn't
I mean, once again, you've talked from a point of complete ignorance about something you know nothing about.
I didn't have the slightest interest in the Southern Methodist University when we came into the building tonight.
But now you know.
And now I have even less interest knowing what it's all about.
Yeah, but now you know. But now you know more than you knew 5 minutes ago.
For you to say George W. Bush, he's having his presidential library there.
Well, that's a big deal.
Have you seen the site? Have you seen the site of Jimmy Carter, the peanut farmer? Have you seen the site of his presidential library in Atlanta?
Have I seen the site of it? What do you mean?
It's in some broken down, run down...
I very much doubt that.
...suburb of Atlanta. But, he deliberately had it built...
it's probably where he's from.
No, he deliberately had it built in the poor people's area, to try and...
what's wrong with that?
Try and upgrade it. Well, what I'm saying is, you said, it must be a great place because the presidential library's there. Well, the presidential library is usually put into, ghettos because the president's...
That's not true. So where's the Ronald Reagan Memorial Library, then?
That's in California.
Yeah. It's not in a ghetto, is it?
No, it's not in a ghetto.
No, so when you say libraries are normally put into ghettos...
Yeah, but Reagan was a good guy. He had a laugh with people. He knew what was going on in life. He didn't take himself too seriously. But most of the other presidents of the United States since then have just been,
And what do you think? Where do you think the JFK Memorial Library is?
I'll tell you where that is. That's in... I know exactly where that is, actually. It's definitely in Massachusetts, right? And it's very close to Boston.
Well, I'm hoping it's not going to come up as one of the questions.
No, exactly.
I'm give you one of those away.
Yeah.
But anyway, I don't know why you've got such a kind of prejudice against, Southern United
Methodists.
States,
I just don't get on with
organisations.
I don't get on with them when I'm told that, when they play basketball, they're top team and all that. It's a load of rubbish.
Yeah, right. Well, we'll keep you updated on the score just to annoy you.
On this Europa League, right, for you to sit there boasting that, wow, isn't it brilliant that 18% of all the teams left in the Europa League come from the Premier League. I think that's a disgraceful figure.
What do you mean?
Disgraceful.
Well, you think there should be more teams in it?
No, I think there should be less. I think the fact that the clubs in this country are clinging on to European glory in this second and weakest European competition we've ever had.
If Everton managed to clamber their way up the league to actually get into a position to qualify for the Europa League, what is the point of that then?
I've always said that
What is the point?
I would prefer my club not to go in the Europa League. And I've also said that if we finished 5th and the Europa League was on offer, I would petition the club to ask UEFA to have a deferment and not playing it.
Yeah, but the point is that all that happens is that's so that you can concentrate on the Premier League, getting back into a European position to qualify for the Europa League.
No,
so you go round and round.
The Champions League. No,
Everton are not going to get into the top
Champions
4
League
any time in this century.
No, this list.
That's not going to happen.
I wrote down this list of magnificent clubs in the last 16. So, for instance, tell me of your experience, your knowledge of SC Braga, please.
SC Braga, they're a relatively new club, and they're not particularly
Where
good.
Where are they from?
I don't think they're going to do very well.
Where are they
not from Portugal, aren't they?
Well, I'm asking you.
I think they're from Portugal, aren't they?
Well, I'm not answering any questions.
Well,
I'm asking
do you know if they're from Portugal?
I don't care.
You don't know, do
you? I don't care.
Well, you don't know, though, do you?
I don't care.
Why are you asking me questions to which you don't know the answer?
Because you are are pimping up this competition as being,
You're very loose-lipped with your phrases this morning.
First class and all that. And I've named a club that's in it. You don't even know where they come from.
I've told you they come from Portugal.
Yeah, oh, do they?
Well, do they come from Portugal or not? You're asking
I don't
asking
know,
me the
because
question.
I don't care.
Right.
Which part of Portugal?
What part of Portugal?
I know Portugal very well.
Do you?
Yeah.
Which part of Portugal? I mean, how many parts of Portugal are there?
Well, I'll tell you what there is. There's the capital, Lisboa.
Right.
Then there's Oporto, which is the other main port.
Uh-huh.
And then there's the Algarve.
Right.
So which bit of it is it?
So that's Portugal for you, then?
That's the 3/3 of Portugal.
So there's Porto.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No, there's Lisboa. Oporto.
Uh-huh.
And Algarve.
Oh, Algarve, right.
Yeah.
When was the last time you were in the Algarve?
I don't necessarily go to Portugal just to lie on a beach and eat sardines all day, pal.
No, you don't go to the Algarve for that. You go to the Algarve to play golf. Well, they probably wouldn't let you on, would they?
Of course they would, but the course is a bit too dry there for me.
It's a bit too dry.
But anyway, look, we can get away from this. The point is that FC Basel are another one of the last 16.
Are a pretty good
Probably
team.
the smallest club in Europe.
No, I think they'll
compete in European
do very well.
competition.
Sevilla, who won the Europa League last 2 years running, and we're in the Champions League, in fact. Villarreal, you'll know well. Anderlecht, a team with some great history.
I've been to Villarreal.
Shakhtar Donetsk, a great team. Bayer Leverkusen.
Everton played Villarreal.
Who have been in the final of the Champions League in years past. Athletic Bilbao, who are a very, very good team. Valencia, as I said, Gary Neville's team. Fenerbahce.
Let's talk about something else. It's too boring.
These are all European names with some credit to them, and people who take the European Championships very, very seriously.
Yeah, well,
unlike
you
Everton.
You say that.
Everton have disappeared off into some rich man's paradise for the weekend.
Gone to Dubai for warm weather training.
What do they do warm weather training for? When they come back, it's going to be cold.
Yes, I know, but
what's the point of that?
Actually, that's quite a good question, because I always wondered why you go warm weather training and then come back and play in the cold.
Yeah.
I suppose it's because your muscles and your joints are supposed to work better in warm weather.
Well, that's fine, but there's
talking
no point
about
training
Europe,
for warm weather when there isn't any warm weather.
Talking about Europe, I wanted to tell you about a discovery I made today. I told you that earlier I was reading my historical journals, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I came across the story, a very sad story of the East German guard who jumped over the barbed wire. Do you know why it's a sad story?
Why is it a sad story?
He ended up hanging himself.
Did he?
Yeah, which is a bit of a shame, really. Even though he got freedom in the West, he could never settle down because he couldn't get back to see his family.
Yeah.
That was the true cruelty of it all. They wouldn't let him back in.
Yeah.
Anyway, look, did you know?
Well, that's all been controlled by your mates over in Russia, isn't it?
I'll be telling you something about Mr. Putin a bit later in the show. Now, did you know, I thought this would be a particular interest to you, because I like to look after your interests, and I know you've got two boys who need historical knowledge. What's your
When was the last time you contributed to the historical knowledge?
I think you'll find that, you know...
You didn't even buy him a Christmas present.
No, you will hear a lot of my knowledge. You'll hear a lot of my knowledge, and you'll take that home and impress your boys.
Is that right?
By pretending that's your knowledge.
I would never, ever quote from you to them in terms of anything that was supposed to be
now,
about
what you can tell them is
based.
this. You live near the Battle of Hastings. Okay.
Well, there's some dispute about where the Battle of Hastings actually took place.
Well, I know that location-wise, but you live in a place called Battle, right? Which is named after the Battle of Hastings.
That's true.
That is the clue, isn't it? Right. Now then, what you didn't know, and I've just discovered, and hardly anybody knows this. This is a new...
when you say hardly anyone, what do you mean?
Well, I mean, only like historical scholars like me.
Right.
Did you know that in 1066 was the date of the Battle of Hastings? Mm-hmm. That's when Harold got one in the eye, or we think he might have done.
Well, that's under dispute as well,
I know
actually.
It's in dispute, but it's on the Bayeux Tapestry, isn't it?
Yeah.
And, of course, Harold had to come back from Stamford Bridge, where he'd beaten off the Vikings and all that.
Yeah.
Can I tell you, in 1069, there was a reverse invasion, and Harold's two sons put together a fleet of 64 longboats and re-invaded England from Ireland to take it back.
Right.
But they got smashed up.
Yeah, right. Didn't work, did it?
Yeah.
No, but there was a lot of invading going on in those days. I mean, one of the reasons that Harold lost was because all his troops were knackered from fighting the Vikings up in Stamford Bridge.
I just told you that.
Yeah, I know, but
you weren't listening.
That was my point. I knew all that. You haven't told me anything I didn't know.
No, I have told you this because you know where the invasion took place. They didn't know, and now they found historical knowledge. It was near Barnstable in Cornwall.
Yeah,
because they came over from Ireland. What happened was they put this invasion fleet together. 64 longships sailed from Ireland, led by Godwin and Edmund, the sons of the Saxon King Harold, who died at Hastings, allegedly with a Norman arrow in his eye. And up until now, no one ever knew where the follow-up battle had been fought, and it had been gradually forgotten. But now new historians working with archaeologists have found that it all happened in Cornwall on the coast near a place called Appledore.
How fascinating.
It is. That is incredible news.
No, it's not.
The
Not
English
at all
longships
fascinating.
pulled up alongside each other on the shore.
51 each now in the Memphis game.
Like nobody cares. Pulled up on the shore at Appledore.
Yeah. I like that. Pulled up on the shore at Appledore. Sounds
yes,
like a
that's
poem.
right. But the failure of Harold's sons to carry out any reconnaissance meant they were surprised by a force of Norman, Breton and English fighting men led by Brian of Brittany. He was a right old cutthroat, he was.
Brian of Brittany.
Yeah, Brian of Brittany, was there. And
you finished yet? Look at the time. Look at the time.
I'll tell you about it a bit later on.
Yeah, all right then. Here's one from Luke. He says, Porky, we'd be better off with questions on the Flintstones and the Kennedys. This is Talk Sport. Recognise that?
That's the Stereophonics.
It is the Stereophonics.
Yes.
Great band, the Stereophonics.
I thought,
Great band, the Stereophonics.
I thought it might have been the Manic Street Preachers. Then I had to search my mind, you know.
Did you?
Yeah.
It doesn't take long, that, does it? Searching your mind.
Ignore that, ridiculous.
We put out an APB for some brain cells.
Listen, just to let you know, because I've had a tremendous amount of interest expressed about the second battle of
well, hang on,
Hastings.
before you say anything about that, right, because some people are asking some questions about your historical facts, right, which already have been proven to be quite incorrect.
I don't think so.
The Stereophonics, of course, are from where?
They're from Wales.
They're from Cardiff.
Cardiff!
Yeah, they're from Cardiff.
Cardiff.
And who's going to Cardiff?
We are going to Cardiff.
We're going to Cardiff,
And we are going to the Tram Shed.
We are going to the Tram Shed on May the 7th.
May the 7th, but I got it wrong today, my tweet.
Yeah, you said we were going there on May the 9th.
I said we were going on Saturday, May the 9th, but there is not a Saturday, May the 9th this year.
Yeah.
There is a Saturday, May the 7th.
My bet is you'll do that again over time.
Probably.
Because you'll get confused. Because we're April the 9th in Manchester.
That's right.
May the 7th in Cardiff.
Absolutely.
We're very much looking forward to it. Our first foray over the border.
Well, absolutely. And looking forward to it very much indeed. And just remind our millions of listeners, please, where they get the tickets from.
They get the tickets from the2mics.co.uk.
Yeah.
They can get them from the Tram Shed website as well.
That's right.
Which is, and if they just follow us on Twitter or Facebook, you'll get a ticket link there. In fact, we'll put one out during the course of the show.
We certainly will.
Why not, indeed?
Tremendous amount of interest today from the people of the Principality.
Yes.
I call it the Principality, of course, because one of my first early jobs as a national news reporter on the Daily Express was following Prince Charles and Diana, Princess of Wales, around Wales.
Oh, right.
And of course,
so you know it very well then?
Well, of course I know it well. I used to spend my holidays as a kid on...
but that's North Wales.
On Frith Beach.
It's practically a different
which
country.
is near Prestatyn.
Yeah, but North Wales and South Wales is totally different.
Yeah, but I was about to say to you, if you hadn't interrupted me so foolishly.
Oh, I didn't realise I was interrupted you. I thought we were doing a show together.
It started in Llandudno.
Did it?
And then went down through Conway and Aberystwyth.
Yes.
To
well, you run out of place names.
No, Aberystwyth.
You said that.
I said that already. And then Swansea and Cardiff.
Yeah, okay.
And Pontypridd.
Did you not go to Pembrokeshire then?
Went to Pembrokeshire, yes.
Did you? Why are you talking like that?
And also that place where there's a big steelworks, or used to be, Port Talbot.
Port Talbot, yeah.
Oh, and Barry Island.
Barry Island.
Because on Barry Island there was another Butlins.
Yes, that was indeed.
Yes.
Did you stay there?
No.
No, you didn't. Okay. Can you stop talking like that now?
Yeah, well,
now, quite a few people have pointed out that Barnstable and Appledore are in Devon. Not Cornwall.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
That's from Cabby Frank, and also from Lewis in Birmingham.
Thank you for the correction. It's just a tiny geographical dot.
Yes. And here's one from Kloppite, who says, Braga reached the final of the Europa League a couple of years ago. That's more than Everton have managed in decades.
Excuse me. European Cup Winners' Cup final. Victors over Rapid Vienna. Feyenoord.
What year?
1985.
Yeah. How long ago is that?
I was there, by the way. Brilliant.
95.
Took a girlfriend with me.
But
she left me because she got trampled by fans under the seat.
She left you?
Yes.
Well, you left her there?
No. When we got back, she was so horrified by what had gone on.
That's 31 years ago.
It was, absolutely.
There's a lot of people listening to this show who haven't been alive that long.
Wonder what that girl looks like now.
Which girl?
The girl that I was with that
The one
night.
who got trampled underfoot?
Yeah. Well,
what was her name?
Lorraine.
Lorraine?
Was it? Yeah, well, Lorraine. That's
Lorraine.
Right, yeah.
Well, the girl that you went out with in London.
Yes,
Lorraine.
that's right.
That
yeah.
Lorraine.
Yes.
Oh, right.
We all jumped up like this when Everton scored.
Yeah.
And when we came down, she disappeared and she'd been pushed by the weight of the crowd under the seat.
Oh, dear.
And I couldn't find her, literally.
You couldn't find her?
Well, I thought, where's she gone? I thought she'd walked out and left, and then I heard this whimpering noise, and the poor girl had been pushed under the seat. But that wasn't the main thing.
That's a shocking revelation.
When we got back to the hotel, I mean, we partied literally all night because we're all Evertonians, and we'd won the European Cup, and we were about to win the FA Cup on the following Saturday to complete a historic treble.
Yeah.
We'd already won the Football League. We'd just won that night. Andy Gray just won us the European Cup. We were about to win the FA Cup final. So partied all night, got the plane back.
And the league in the same year, or the league the year before?
No, in the same year.
Right.
Same week, actually. Same week. So we made our... So I didn't get back up to the room until 6 o'clock. We had to leave at 8:30 to get the plane.
Oh, dear.
And she was incandescent with rage. You know, where have you been all night? I said, you know, I've been all night. I've been downstairs celebrating. Why didn't you come and join us? She said, I was too tired and I got mangled up at the, the football ground. I had to come back and take a shower and all that. And I wasn't going to go down and mix all those filthy football fans again.
Yeah, how romantic.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And she did not speak a word to me on the journey home.
Yeah.
We got the flight from Amsterdam back to... it was quite a long drive. Oh, no, to Liverpool. Liverpool,
right?
Because it had been an Everton organised flight, and then we had to drive all the way down to London. Because that's where I worked for the Daily Express. She lived at the Elephant and Castle in a block of flats.
She must have had a fantastic, must have had a whale of a time.
She didn't speak a word to me in the whole of the journey south.
Surprised.
Not a word. No.
So you travelled all the way back from Holland to Liverpool and then London without speaking?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Dear me.
Yeah, never actually
romantically...
That's
because you didn't look after her properly.
Never got romantically sort of involved again after that.
That's because you didn't look after her properly.
Well, I did try and look after her, but she was ungrateful. But anyway, there we are. Now, what I was going to talk to you about was...
Here's another one from Anonymous who says, FC Basel were in the last 15 of the Champions League as recently as 2014.
Wow.
When was the last time Everton did that? Never. And by the way, their stadium capacity in average home gates 38,000.
I find that...
Same as Everton.
That's very exciting. Good. How many Spanish clubs are left in the last 16 then?
How many Spanish clubs?
Yeah.
Well, let's see. Valencia are in there.
Yeah.
We've got Athletic Bilbao. We've got Sevilla. We've got Villarreal. So 4, I guess.
Right. Now, do you know why I ask?
Why?
Because did you know that the biggest booming market for English food anywhere else in the world apart from Britain is Spain?
Is it?
And do you know what they've...
When you say English food, what do you mean?
Marmite.
Marmite?
Marmite has literally taken over the whole of Spain.
Yeah. But isn't that because of the English people living there rather than the Spanish actually adopting it?
No, it's not.
Are you sure?
No, I'm sure. I mean, obviously, there's a huge expat community on the Spanish costas.
Yeah.
But
Costa del Crime.
Yeah, Costa del Crime, that's right. But, excuse me, Marmite and Bovril can be sold in stores now all over Spain.
Are you a fan of Marmite?
No.
I'm not either.
No, not at all.
I don't like it.
No, and I hate that expression, oh, well, he's Marmite, isn't he? You know, saying about Robbie Savage and people like that. You either like him or hate him.
Yeah.
No, I just hate it. You know, I don't hate Robbie, I hate Marmite.
Well, that's the point, isn't it?
Yeah, what?
Well, that is the point.
Yeah,
it's
but
correct, because the people who do like it on toast, like it on all sorts of things.
But you could say that about anything. You say that about garlic.
Why?
Because people either like garlic or they hate garlic. I hate garlic.
I don't think that's true.
You can say about a million things. You can say about a million things.
No, because some people don't mind garlic as long as there's not too much of it.
No.
Whereas people who don't like Marmite don't want any of it. Well, that's the point.
No, but it's a stupid expression because there's loads of things that you either love or hate.
Well, like what?
Okay, cigarettes.
Cigarettes?
Yeah.
No, I don't think that's true either.
No, you love cigarettes.
No,
and I hate them.
No, but you don't hate them because occasionally you ask me if you can have one.
Oh, it's very occasionally.
Yeah.
That's usually when I'm intoxicated.
Clearly you don't hate them.
But I do. I hate the principle of them and all that kind of stuff.
Some people don't want to be smokers, but they'll occasionally have a cigarette.
Yeah.
Some people hate the smell of smoke. Some people, however, don't mind it.
Yeah.
So it's not a question of love or hate.
It is. It is.
Not true.
The other thing is things like, for instance, whiskey. No, I hate whiskey.
You
I hate whiskey. Some people are aficionados of it, you know?
But some people equally are kind of, shall we say, ambivalent about it.
Well, could be.
And if you put a little bit of whiskey in a drink and gave it to them and made a cocktail with it, they would say, actually, that's quite nice.
Right, I'm going to give you two other brands which are huge sellers in Spain.
Right.
Cathedral City Cheese,
yes,
which is based on Chester, as you know, the Cathedral City.
No, it isn't.
It is.
No, we had this conversation a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
It's based on somewhere down in the southwest of England, I believe.
And another one, which is amazing to me, because it's my favourite pint of beer, London Pride.
London Pride,
London Pride beer is massive in Spain.
That's terrible beer.
What?
That's your favourite pint of beer?
Yeah.
That is one of the worst beers you can get your hands on.
It's not. I love it.
No,
I think it's great.
That's because you have no taste buds.
Oh, I do.
I think you've burned all your taste buds away over the years.
Here's the other brands. Liverpool Gin.
Liverpool Gin?
Yeah.
I've never heard of it.
Neither have I. Hawkshead Relish.
Hawkshead Relish?
Eh?
Not sure about that.
Cartwright and Butler,
What's
which
that?
make chutneys.
Chutneys, okay.
And savoury biscuits.
Yeah.
Tea Pigs Organic Teas.
Organic tea?
Yeah, organic teas.
No, never heard of that either.
Right, away
Whose
from
list is this?
Eh?
Whose list is this?
This is from one of my journals called The Grocer. What are you laughing at? That's a magazine you nearly went to work for.
I did. No, I applied for a job with them.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Imagine I could have been compiling lists just like that.
Yeah, you could have done.
I'm
Yeah,
so
of course
sorry
you
I
could.
missed out on that.
Yeah.
What a nightmare.
Yeah.
By the way, SMU have just taken the lead, so it's all good news for the messengers.
Southern Massachusetts University.
Yeah, it's
just taking the lead over Memphis.
It's all good stuff.
Stop the world.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Get off.
Apparently quite a well-known singer-songwriter.
Oh, yes.
You know, but,
I'll tell you about that song. I listened to the lyrics one night when I was driving home, and it's all about being outside Gracelands and seeing the ghost of Elvis walking around in the grounds.
Well, it's just about walking around in Memphis, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's more about Gracelands. It's more about Elvis and everything. I mean, Memphis itself is a bit of a dosshole, isn't it?
Memphis?
You've been to Sun Records, where Elvis made his first disc and all that.
I went to Memphis to see a guy who had hit upon, he's one of these mad entrepreneurs in America, right, who'd hit upon this great new idea. Oh, we've got to talk to Steve Nicol.
Yeah, let's talk to Steve.
I'll have to tell his story. What this guy did...
I bet you Steve's a big Elvis fan.
What this guy had done, just to tease it for you,
right?
He'd invented a new form of horse racing.
Oh, excellent.
Right?
Good.
But instead of horses, he was using sort of very small ponies.
Oh, brilliant.
And what you put on the back of them, why are you being so dismissive?
Because, I mean, I bet he lost millions, yeah?
Well, hang on, I haven't finished telling you the story. What he had on the back was robotic jockeys.
Robotic jockeys,
and
yeah.
so
brilliant. What an idea.
Punters could go...
I wish I'd have thought of that one.
Punters could go and control the jockeys with remote controls and watch the racing going round.
Fantastic.
It was great fun.
And what came of it? What came of it?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you in a bit. I'll tell you what's a lot more successful than your crappy television station. That's for a start.
Oh, that's very nice.
Let's talk to Steve Nicol. Steve, very good morning to you.
Hi, boys. How are you?
Very well.
Steve, very well, mate. All about a few coming on the show. He's a bit out of order tonight.
I'll tell you what the problem is, Steve. There's the League Cup final coming up this weekend, live on TalkSport. There is, of course, some fantastic Europa League results to talk about, and there's a big Premier League programme. But guess what? Everton aren't playing in any of it.
Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Oh, that's very nice, Steve. Thanks very much. That's a shame, yeah. Really
You're talking to the wrong man.
Really impactful statement there. The point is, the reason we're not in the League Cup final is because Raheem Sterling cheated us out of it, right? And the reason we're not playing this weekend is because your lot, Liverpool, are in the League Cup final and have avoided the game they're going to lose, which is the Merseyside derby, OK?
Well, when you're successful, somebody has to pay the price, and I guess the Blues pay the price.
Well, here, let me ask you this then. With the history of Liverpool Football Club and 5 Champions League trophies, European Cup, Champions League, call it what you will, how can you possibly be happy to see Liverpool, ploughing a furrow in a European competition, which is second-rate?
So let me get this right. Mm-hmm. So we're in a League Cup final.
Yes.
And we're ploughing a furrow in the Europa League, which is the old UEFA Cup.
Second
which
rate.
Used to be held in high esteem. And you're a lot of sat at home watching the telly.
No, we're not. We're in Dubai. Warm weather training.
Yeah, warm weather training in the middle of the winter. Not quite sure why they're doing that, really.
Yeah, well, they roughly translated a jolly up.
Well, I'm not having that professional attitude towards it.
Exactly right.
It won't be like your day, Steve, when you'd emptied the bar on the plane before the aeroplane had left British airspace.
You know far too much.
No, I do, yeah.
We've run out a couple of times, I can assure you.
I know.
Now, let's talk a little bit about the Europa League from last night, because, 3 English teams now in the last 16, which is no bad thing. I know Manchester United are sort of the top scorers of the night, but Liverpool had a bit of a tricky game. They don't look particularly brilliant still, do they?
Well, I guess if you look at the chances created, it was pretty impressive. They never took them, though, which meant that they had to rely on the back four, which, with Lucas Leiva in there beside Sacco wasn't exactly plugged up, but they got there. So the key is they made chances but didn't score them. Sturridge looked pretty sharp, and again, when he's playing, he gives defences problems. So there are some positives. And of course, we're through. I mean, how more positive is that?
Yeah, exactly right. That's what I think. And I mean, as much as Mr. Parry here is very dismissive of the Europa League, I mean, there's some pretty decent teams left in it. And the last 16 is when it starts to get pretty exciting for me, really.
Yeah, well, this is kind of where it should start. This nonsense about the league system is a complete waste of time. It has to be changed, but they are in the last 16, and now you've got to go and try and win it. And obviously that's what they're doing. You see the team he puts out. Lever was playing centre-back, but that's because Lovren was unwell. But he's obviously putting his first team out, and he'll do the same again against City at the weekend.
He certainly will. Now, Steve, talking about City, League Cup finals, A, how many did you play in? And B, didn't Liverpool's kind of own the competition for a number of years?
Well, we did in the 80s. We certainly owned it. I actually missed a few of the finals because I was injured. But I mean, again, back then it was an important competition, and it is an important competition. When you get to a cup final at Wembley.
Oh, I agree.
Are you kidding me? I mean, how many? If you think of the thousands and millions of players that have never had the privilege of stepping on the turf in a cup final, absolutely, this is a big occasion, and we want to win it. Liverpool want to win it.
Yeah, of course they do. Yeah, I agree with you. And I suppose it means an awful lot more to clubs these days who have no chance whatsoever of winning the Premier League. In your day, throughout your career, Steve, one of 6 or 7 clubs could have won the Premier League. I'm talking about clubs as far apart as Derby, Nottingham Forest, Everton, Liverpool, Leeds United. There was always a chance a club could come from the outside. That's very unlikely now. It's very unlikely until Leicester arrived. And therefore, the League Cup and the FA Cup are really great opportunities for silverware, aren't they?
Well, I'm not sure you started with a little dig there about, for some teams, it's good to win the League Cup. Well, but at the end of the day, I think you got to be. Listen, if you're a Liverpool fan, you got to be realistic. We ain't getting winning the Premier League. We ain't getting in the top 4. So you have to set your sights on something, and why not win the League Cup?
Yeah, absolutely.
Obviously, why don't you win the Europa League as well? Because that means that you do get that automatic place. So Liverpool find themselves, as much as you made a little dig, you're actually right. Liverpool find themselves in a position where winning the League Cup would mean a bit of success for the season.
Yeah, no,
there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I don't wish to be personal about Everton, but I mean, there's a pretty good chance they're not going to win anything this season, isn't there?
Well, yeah,
I think there's more than a good chance of that.
No, there's not. No, there's not. When we get past,
what are you going to win?
The FA Cup.
Hold on a second. What are you going to win, Mike?
The FA Cup.
You're not in anything.
We're going to play Chelsea.
The FA Cup.
You're going to beat Chelsea.
Play Chelsea in the 6th round, right? That means we get to the semi-final, and then you're 2 games away from victory.
I'll tell you what.
Wouldn't you love to be inside his brain?
As a football fan, you can dream. And you're definitely dreaming.
Yeah, well, yeah, I am dreaming, but dreams come true sometimes. So, I wouldn't worry about it, Steve. It's going to happen.
Now, if you were going to talk about some good performances, though, properly from last night, I mean, you have to say Spurs probably were the better or the best of all 3 of the English teams last night. I mean, Man United, yes, they scored 5 goals, but they only beat Midtjylland. Whereas Spurs had a pretty good, having a great season, aren't they, Steve?
I think you have to be impressed with Spurs. Whether it's the Premier League or the Europa League, they don't give anything away. And the fact that Pochettino consistently makes 5 to 6 changes from kind of the Premier League team to the Europa League team, and it's not always the same 5, he mixes it up, but every time he does it, they don't miss a beat. I mean, that's impressive. And the way they're going, they're so consistent. They have match winners, and obviously Ali and Kane and Eriksen, and even Kane didn't play.
He wasn't playing, yeah.
No, so you have to be impressed with what Spurs are doing.
Well, look, you do, but I think they've got bigger fish to fry this season, and therefore their priorities will be there, i.e. looking after the bigger fish.
I actually find this a little strange that Tottenham in some ways can't win, because there's no question they're going to be in the top 4. But if they win the Europa League, they get a spot in the Champions League, which they're already going to get.
Yes.
So I was kind of thinking, why don't you put all your eggs in one basket and go and win the Premier League? But again, Pochettino's kind of smashed myself in the face with a custard pie because when he makes all the changes that everybody does, they're still winning games. And there's nothing better as a football player than winning game after game after game. So why not keep it going? Man United, on the other hand, I'll tell you what, when Michelin went 1-0 up, everybody took a breath and went, oh, goodness, what's going to happen here?
Right.
Fortunately for them, Michelin showed tonight what they are, or yesterday what they are, and they're just not good. And Memphis Depay, who hasn't kicked a ball all season in the Premier League, all of a sudden looks like a superstar. So he's got a big game at the weekend. He has to produce what he produced against Michelin, because if he doesn't, then it's going to be, you know what, he's one of those guys that produces it against lower league sides, but can't do it on the big stage.
No, exactly right. Now, let's just, before we let you go, Steve, a bit of a prediction for the League Cup final, because Manchester City have played great this week in the Champions League, but haven't been brilliant in the Premier League. What sort of team do you think they're going to put out for this final?
It's a final. I see nothing other than the first team. I think whatever they have available, they play the best side. For Liverpool, clearly Manchester City are the favourites. If both sides play to the potential, then City will win. But again, for a coach, there's nothing worse than putting a team out, and then when that whistle blows for the start of the game, you're not sure what you're going to get. That's what Liverpool have to remember, because City, defensively, we don't know what they're going to give us. So Liverpool have to look at that and try and put as much pressure on them as they can. And let's be honest, Daniel Sturridge is getting better and better every time he steps on the field. Coutinho is a match winner. Firmino, I think, has got better and better as the season's going on. So Liverpool's got some weapons going forward. Clearly, defensively they got trouble, but so do Manchester City. So this game is definitely City's to win, but you don't know what you're going to get.
Yeah, you never know. City in finals could be quite interestingly bad as well. Steve, we've got to go. Thank you very much indeed. Steve Nicol there, giving you a bit of a shellacking, I'd have to say. We'll talk about that some more coming up in the next hour. We've got, of course, a shopping expert coming up to tell us about billionaires in China and what they're buying. Maybe some Marmite, you never know. This is TalkSport.
Europa League football on TalkSport.
With Arnold Clark. It's about affordable motoring. Visit arnoldclark.com.
This is TalkSport. We are the two mics. Lots more stuff coming up. We've got a few texts and tweets to read out. You can, of course, get us at the two mics. Follow us on Facebook as well, where you get all sorts of information about upcoming shows. A couple of people have picked me up on my comments about London Pride.
Yes.
Simon in Windsor says, Mike Graham is totally wrong and has obviously had a bad experience. London Pride is without doubt the best commercial beer on the market.
I agree.
I can't believe I'm agreeing with Porky.
I agree.
Well, I'm sorry,
Thank
Simon.
you.
If you think that London Pride is the best commercial beer on the market, I'm afraid you haven't tasted very many other beers.
Well, you like Doom Bar.
There's a... What?
You like Doom Bar.
Doom Bar's okay.
It's Cornish stuff. It doesn't taste right.
No, it's okay.
Probably made with Cornish water or something.
It's by no means the best. What's wrong with Cornish water?
Well, it's like weirdo water.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm
weirdo
certain.
water.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Okay. I mean, I like a pint of Young's quite often, which is very
Young's
good beer.
is all right.
And there's a whole host of kind of microbreweries now which make fantastic beer, which you can buy in most of the pubs that we go to around here.
Yeah.
They all do these
it's
very
all trendy
strange...
though.
Well, it's a bit trendy, but some of them are very good.
One thing I can't stand is walk into
London Pride is kind of mass-produced stuff, which is all right, but it's just not the best beer on the market.
If I walk into my favourite Wetherspoons, which is at Victoria Station in London, normally speaking, they've got a choice of about 10 beers. But then they have all these beer festivals. This is what all pubs do.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, they've got all these guest beers. When I say, where's the London Pride? Oh, we haven't got it on at the moment. We've got all these guest beers.
Yeah, right.
And then you say to one of the barmaids or whatever...
Barman.
And by the way, I'm not knocking Wetherspoons because I'm a big fan of theirs.
Well, you're the biggest customer, sure.
Yeah, probably. I certainly go there for fish and chips on a Friday and probably will tomorrow. They're the biggest fish and chip supplier in the world every Friday.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure. But anyway, what I was going to say was, when I say to one of the young members of staff, recommend me a beer that's one of your guest beers, they haven't had time to taste them all, so they can't. It's not their fault.
No.
And so they recommend you, a beer that's not that good. Listen, I've got a text here I've got to read to you because it's rather disappointing. David G says, my 6-year-old nephew said, Uncle Dave, what does clear as mud mean?
Yeah.
And I said to him, well, I tell you what, I'm going to play you old Porky Parry talking about Mozart on yesterday's podcast, and that will properly define clear as mud.
There were lots of people on Twitter yesterday listening to the podcast saying that it was the most enjoyable sort of 10 minutes of nonsense they'd heard in very, very many a year.
Nonsense? What are you on about?
Well, it was a bit of a ridiculous rant that you went on.
Wasn't?
All of which could have culminated in the end, having started with Mozart was poisoned. It ended with Mozart wasn't poisoned.
Well, that was the debate, you see. Now, a chap called...
but you had it with yourself.
Well, I was going through the facts. Now, a chap called Damien, talking about our Cardiff gig on May the 7th.
Yes.
He says his partner's due to give birth at the end of May.
OK.
So he says, is it fair to abandon her and come along?
Absolutely.
I need a, Ask Porky Parry type answer.
Yeah. Well, I mean, she's not due until the end of May. You can bring her along with you.
Exactly. I was going to say, you've got another 3 weeks to go.
Yeah.
If there's an emergency problem during the show... Yeah. We will designate a stretcher bearer to carry her out.
Well, how about delivering the baby in the show?
No.
I've been at the birth of 4 of my children. I know what's going on.
Yeah,
I'd be quite happy to do it.
God, that's not worth thinking about.
What do you mean it's not worth thinking about? Does it make you feel squeamish?
No, it doesn't make me feel squeamish.
How about this from Simon, who says, Wales ceased to be a principality in 1542 and is now a country in its own right. Porky must be older than he looks.
No, it's definitely a principality.
No,
because,
not anymore.
Well, hang on. When Prince Charles was anointed Prince of Wales...
Yeah, what year was that?
It's not anointed, is it? It
was invested.
Invested, that's right, the investiture, which
is
at Carnarvon Castle, you know.
Yes.
In 19... was that 71?
It was in the 70s, yeah.
71, I think.
Yeah,
71,
was.
Yeah.
That was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago. He was then called the King of the Principality. I remember seeing the headline.
Well, why was he the King of the Principality? He was only the Prince of Wales.
Well, because, Wales haven't got a king, so he was the next nearest thing.
I don't think that's correct. He was not called the King of the Principality at all.
Yeah, it's Taxi Man.
Rubbish.
Taxi Man says...
Wales is a country in southwest Great Britain.
Well, I suppose it is, really.
Well, it's not a principality then, is it?
No, it is a principality.
You can't be
honestly.
both.
No,
it's either a country or a principality.
Listen, I know a lot more about the United Kingdom than you do.
Really?
Yeah, Ulster is a province... and Wales is a principality.
Is that right?
Believe me.
Well, it's now a country.
And Scotland's a country.
Yeah, well, I'm afraid that you're wrong about Wales.
Now, I've got a chap here, calls himself Taximan on his Twitter thing, right, being very rude, and says that my attempt at a Welsh accent sounded more like talking to a chap from Pakistan.
Yeah, I think he's probably right about that.
Oh, that's outrageous.
How about this one from Ian? He says, there's a name for your wine, Weirdo Water. We were talking about having a name for the wine. Have you made any more inroads into that, by the way? Well, I asked you to try and find out how simple it would be.
Yeah, it wouldn't be difficult.
Have you got any information?
Well, I haven't got it with me at the moment because we've got more important things to do.
The Welsh Government issued a statement in 2008. Wales is not a principality.
What is it then?
It is a country.
Well, it'll be a country when it raises its own tax revenues for everything that it provides to its citizens.
That's not true.
Until then, a principality has to be dependent.
Well, Scotland, you say, is a country, right? Does it raise taxes for everything that its people have to deal with? No, it doesn't.
No.
So how is that a country?
Because it has a definition of country by geographical location.
What, because it's northern?
Yes.
What, so anything west of England is not a country, but anything north of England is a country?
No.
What sort of logic is that?
No.
Plankery.
No. The difficulty is that the guidelines and the borders between England and Wales are unclear, whereas they're not unclear between Scotland and England.
What's the difference?
Well, between Wales and England, we have the borders.
What?
It's a specific geographical location called the borders.
What, between Wales and England?
Yes.
And where are these areas?
Well, it runs in a line, really, from sort of down through Shrewsbury, down to Herefordshire.
Shoebury Town?
Yeah, Shoebury Town, yeah.
Shoebury Town?
Shoebury Town. Shrewsbury Town, Hereford and round there, and that's known as the border country, right?
Not the borders.
Whereas with Scotland, it's quite clear.
No, it's not. They've also got an area called the borders.
No.
They have.
No.
Where do you think Coldstream is?
Yes, I know, but what I'm saying
Where do you think Hoyk is?
What I'm saying is there is a river called what's it called?
I've no idea.
The Tweed.
The Tweed.
It's the Tweed, which is the defining line between Scotland and England.
Is it?
Isn't it?
Well, that's what you say.
Where's that? Is it the...
I thought you were going to say it's because Hadrian's Wall's there.
Where's that town that's called something
Berwick
on the
upon Tweed.
Berwick on Tweed and Berwick are on opposite sides of the Tweed. Okay?
Well, I remember they had a mini referendum there as to whether they wanted to be part of Scotland or whether they wanted to be part of England.
Absolutely.
Because in Scotland, for example, you could get free bus travel.
Yeah, but they stayed in England,
old
didn't
age
they?
pensioner, and also you could get free university places if you were there as well.
Exactly.
And
So-
also Berwick upon Tweed, although it's in England,
Yes.
famously had its football team playing in the Scottish League.
That's
didn't
right, absolutely, yeah. So, you see, that sorts everything out, so don't worry about it, OK? Got it all done now. No problemo, OK?
Yes.
Good.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Are you going to make any more errors between now and the quiz?
I don't make errors.
Really?
I make assimilations.
Assimilations. This is Talk Sport.
When you need all the latest form and odds on all the day's sporting action and you need it fast, you need the Coral Daily Download. Get all the latest news and great offers on all the big games and all the biggest race meetings in one essential package. Delivered to your ears at the speed of sound. Don't miss the Coral Daily Download every morning on the Alan Brazil Sports Breakfast from 6 on Talk Sport with Coral. Your best bet for breakfast.
Is frequent heartburn keeping you up at night? There is a way you could protect yourself. Nexium Control for 24-hour protection from frequent heartburn by controlling acid at the source. Try Nexium Control. Look for the purple pack. Just one pill a day could give you 24-hour protection and zero heartburn. No wonder consumers voted it Product of the Year. Gastro-resistant tablets contains esomeprazole. Always read the leaflet. General healthcare winner by a survey of over 11,000 people.
Whether you're a butcher, baker, bar owner, onesie tailor, mechanic, optician, cat groomer, bespoke dog suit maker, exotic fruit seller, jeweller or landscape gardener, employers across the UK, however small your business, will soon have to offer a workplace pension, even if you employ just one person. Don't ignore the workplace pension. It's the law. To find out what you need to do, when to do it, and for help through the steps, visit workplacepensions.gov.uk. This ad is brought to you by the Pensions Regulator, a public authority set up by the UK government to regulate work-based pensions.
The Alan Brazil Sports Breakfast on Talk Sport with the new Ford Ranger. It's the breakfast show that's always ready to take on any challenge.
Join me, Alan Brazil, and a different co-host every weekday morning from 6 a.m. as we tackle all the big stories of the day.
The Alan Brazil Sports Breakfast. Weekday mornings from 6 on Talk Sport with the new Ford Ranger. Ruthlessly tested across the harshest terrain on Earth. Find out more at ford.co.uk. Colin Murray.
Call yourself a pundit?
This morning from 10.
Mike just insults people these days to see whether anyone will straighten his nose for him at some stage.
Talk Sport.
Now, that's the theme music to Mr. Selfridge, OK?
Oh, is it? Right. I've never seen that.
Well, it's
never figured in Porky Vision, bizarrely.
No, I watched the first series, and then when the second series came, I couldn't find time to watch it.
Oh.
So, although I quite liked it,
Yeah.
if you see what I mean,
Right.
it wasn't a must, not like Happy Valley
Right.
or the Shetlands. I should have talked about the Shetlands last
Shetlands.
night. That's a fantastic show.
So you
honestly.
keep telling me.
I'm going to tell you more about that. But
Yeah.
anyway, the reason is that Jeremy Piven, right? The New York Post.
He is Mr. Selfridge, presumably.
Yeah, he is. Sorry, yeah, he's the actor who plays Mr. Selfridge. And the New York Post, which is, of course, very well known to you and I.
Yes.
Paper we bought every day for like 10 years or something. You know,
Yeah.
how much did it cost?
Well,
in
I
those
used to
days?
work
35
in their, I used to
cents.
work in their building.
Down in South Street.
South Street, yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Although
South
they're not
Street.
there anymore. They've moved
out.
uptown.
South Street Fish Market, yeah. But anyway, they labelled him this week as the biggest jerk in showbiz, right?
Really?
Yeah, and it was
Why?
all to do. I don't know. It was all to do with some awards event that he went to.
Oh, okay.
And apparently, they labelled him as sleazy and surly. Mr. Selfridge Star is wrong in every department. Okay. And but it's fascinating to read what he gets up to. He's the most arrogant man in showbiz.
Right.
But the one I really liked was this. A woman who used to be associated with him, a former flame, Sarah, says that when he plays roles like Mr. Selfridge, he comes into them very naturally because of his own natural arrogance and his overcompetent, over-the-shop over-the-top attitude towards life.
Over the shop, I like it.
Yeah,
very good.
No, over-the-top. Right. She says she was often shocked by his behaviour. Right. This is something I'm reading from one of my showbiz journals. Right?
Yeah.
She says, "I'm sure it's over." Like when I love this. You'll love this, right? I thought it might have been you he was talking about. She said, when a male fan asked for his autograph, Jeremy declined and complained afterwards that man was too fat to be in my personal space. What's he doing here?
Why does that remind you of me?
Well, because you're very fat, and I thought you might have gone there to interview him or something like that. Yeah.
What size is your shirt?
Sorry?
What size is your shirt?
Well, you know what size my shirt is?
No,
X.
X,
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
it's just whenever you make an accusation about me being, in quote, your words, very fat.
Yes.
You know, I just wondered what size you are.
Well, you know,
But you don't want to give it away.
I don't like to dwell on it.
Because you've got some kind of weirdness about it.
Now, you know the guy I'm talking about? He's supposed to be incredibly handsome, right?
Well, you know, if you asked me to pick out in a lineup of actors, Jeremy Piven, I don't think I could do it.
Yeah, but you must...
Because I don't watch that kind of television.
No, but you've seen pictures of him in his
No,
role
I
as
haven't
Mr.
really.
Selfridge, haven't you?
Well, not really.
Yeah, I'll show you a picture of him. Look.
Not to any great extent.
Look, right, now you see the guy?
Yeah, but I mean, if I met him in the street, I would have no idea who he was.
Okay,
Do you know what I mean?
Okay, but I think it's incredible is the personality that led him to become an actor. He says...
is he from Eton, by any chance? Because we were talking about this the other day.
No, he's an American.
Oh, he's American?
He's American, yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah, that's the whole point, yeah.
Oh, okay. See, I didn't even know that.
Okay, he also has a reputation for being rude to waiters, not acknowledging them, according to former Flame Sarah.
Yeah.
Rumour has it in 2007 he was banned from every branch of the posh Japanese sushi chain Nobu worldwide after he insulted the staff in a restaurant in Aspen, Colorado.
Dear me.
That must have been some insult.
Yeah, it must have been.
You know, for Nobu, who are very well-known
also they have to put up with a lot of celebrities in those places, don't they?
Yeah. To issue a worldwide dictum that Jeremy Piven is banned, right? He's also said to have left a DVD of Entourage, which apparently was the film that made his name.
Well, that was a series.
It was a series,
Yeah.
was it? Okay, well, it must be the series that made his name.
Yeah.
As a tip, instead of paying the service charge, which had run up to several $100s.
Oh, right.
He said it was worth the equivalent of, okay?
Right.
Weirdly, it was also sushi that was at the centre of Piven's biggest controversy when he walked out of the Broadway production of a play called Speed the Plough in October 2008.
Yeah.
He cited mercury poisoning from eating too much of the raw fish for tilting his head. The incident left a nasty taste in the mouth for cast and crew members. I'm not surprised.
Dear me.
Yeah.
He sounds like a thoroughly unpleasant character. But why is suddenly everybody turning on him now?
I don't know. Because of some awards ceremony he went to, and apparently he wasn't all that pleasant. I don't know. Anyway, he got $3 million for the last series of Entourage that he did.
Yeah.
Oh, no, sorry, Entourage the movie.
The movie, yeah.
2015, okay.
How much did he get?
$3 million.
Oh, that's not that much, is it?
Doesn't sound that much, does it?
No.
The arrangement kicked off a squabble between producer Mark Wahlberg. Is he famous, Mark Wahlberg?
Mark Wahlberg, yeah, you met him.
Hey?
You met Mark Wahlberg.
Did I?
Yeah.
When was that?
Well, when you met Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg.
Oh, right, okay. That
Remember
was the
that?
guy. Yeah, I remember him.
Well,
now,
they were doing the other guys, or whatever that movie was called.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. And but apparently, although he got paid much more than the rest of the cast, he complained bitterly it wasn't enough and said that he should have been paid 10 times what everybody else was paid because he was 10 times more talented.
He's going to be one of these guys that ends up sort of not being able to get any work if he carries on like that, isn't he?
Yeah.
He sounds more like you than me, to be honest.
Well, no, he said of his colleagues on Entourage, the film, and his co-stars, he said, there are two separate worlds on this set. I represent the professional world, and they represent the Peter Pan syndrome. So he's
obviously slightly troubled, this guy, isn't he?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
he's obviously got some kind of bee in his bonnet about something or other.
Yeah.
Now I've got quite a few tweets to read out.
Okay.
To you. Some of them on the Tweed. Tweets about the Tweed. One from Mick who says, "I'm from Berwick-on-Tweed.
Oh, right.
The last 5 miles of the Tweed is entirely in England. Porky is a geographical plank."
No, I think I indicated that, didn't I? I think I got that quite
well,
right.
No, you said that the Tweed was basically the line between England and Scotland.
Well, it is.
It can't be if 5 miles of it is in England, can it?
It starts in Scotland, ends in England, right?
Becky says this: Wales doesn't have a king, surely because Wales has a queen. Porky is the Prince of Planks.
Yes, no, that's absolutely true.
That is true, isn't it?
Yeah.
And Ian says Coldstream is where the bridge crosses the Tweed, half in England and half in Scotland.
Well, there you go.
My family come from there. I played golf in Coldstream. I once went on a golfing...
It's a beautiful place.
Yeah, it wasn't so much a golfing holiday, but it turned into a golfing holiday because it was when I was married. And we'd gone to a wedding, I think, up in Scotland.
Yes.
And the mother-in-law was in tow. and I'd got a little cottage in the Borders, somewhere near Hoyk.
Was it quaint? Picture postcard
beautiful.
cottage?
Yeah, it was lovely actually.
You see.
And a fantastic part of the world. And but the thing was, I didn't really want to hang around all day with the wife and the mother-in-law, so I found these great golf courses to go and play. So every single day I played a different golf course, including one in Kelso, which is in the centre of the old race course.
Sorry, I got something
What's
in
the
my
matter
mouth.
with you?
No. What's in my mouth? Sorry.
What do you mean you got something in your mouth?
It's a tea leaf.
A tea leaf?
Yeah, sorry about that. Who did you play golf with?
I played on my own.
Oh, really? Just thrash around the courses?
Just thrash around the courses.
Quite
I went
peaceful,
to
that, isn't it?
It was lovely. And one of the places I went, I think it was the Hoyt golf course, perhaps. It was one of these places where you went and there was nobody there, but it was open. The clubhouse was open.
Yeah.
And it just had a box for you to put the money in.
And
it was very quaint, I thought.
And did you, were you honest?
Of course.
Are you sure?
Absolutely.
And did you avail yourself of the facilities of the 19th hole?
I don't think I did.
In a big way?
No, I didn't know because I was driving everywhere, so I wasn't really drinking. No, but it was very. I mean, one of the most wonderful pursuits, particularly in Scotland, where the golf courses are really picturesque.
Yes,
is to play golf on your own, to just get away from everything.
Yeah, sure,
and not have to talk to anybody, not have to answer the phone to anybody.
I can kind of agree with that.
Beautiful.
I used to do that in Connecticut when I went up to stay with Ivor, and he was too knackered to get out on the golf course. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, but in America, the courses are always jam packed with people.
No, they weren't.
I mean, these places I went to, there was never anybody else on them.
They weren't, funny enough, because in Connecticut, right, where it's quite remote. In fact, I tell you who owned the golf course. What's his name?
You're thinking of Ivan Lendl.
Ivan Lendl, that's right. Yeah. And if you went there in sort of early spring or late autumn, when the snow hadn't come down,
cold,
allegedly cold, and the snow hadn't come down, they were terribly peaceful. You used to literally see golden eagles flying around and all that kind of stuff.
What?
Yeah, you did.
Golden eagles?
Yeah, in Connecticut, yes.
Well, despite the fact that they haven't seen many golden eagles in America for many a year.
They have. Are you
sure you weren't hallucinating?
They could have been hawks.
Yeah, I don't think they were golden eagles.
I don't think they were golden eagles, actually, because golden eagles are quite big.
And they're quite rare.
Yeah, they
don't live in Connecticut either.
No, they don't.
They tend to live in the Rockies.
That's right, they do.
Where there's more mountains.
Yeah, that is true. Because I tell you what, talking about Ivor told me that his daughter, before she got married, crossed America with her fiancé on a motorbike, right? And you're absolutely right. I think they were in Colorado when they stopped at some, roadside, stopping point, for want of a better word.
Yeah.
Lay-by, what we would call a lay-by. Yeah. And a golden eagle landed on the tree next to where the motorbike was parked. Yeah. Yeah, so it was a fantastic experience.
That sounds a bit unlikely as well.
Well, no, I'm sure he wouldn't have made that up. I'm sure he told me that.
Yeah, no, I'm sure he wouldn't. Daddy says this, May the 7th is my birthday, but only recently graduated, so I won't be able to afford a ticket and the journey. Have a drink for me.
What? Where's he coming from?
He's, according to his Twitter, he lives in Guildford.
Guildford? Yeah, Guildford in Surrey. Yeah. It's not that far from Wales.
That's a bit of a hard luck story, that, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a bit.
Only recently graduated, so I can't
well,
go
I'll tell you
anywhere.
what, we'll have to start the Two Mikes Educational Foundation.
You think?
And see if we can, find some, sponsorship facility for the underprivileged.
Absolutely. Damien says this guy you're talking about, Mr. Selfridge, sounds like he'd be the next Charlie Sheen.
Did
you see him this week, by the way? He was saying that, that mad episode he had where he was caught running around naked and decided to chuck in his great job with 2.5 Men and all that.
Yeah, which particular mad episode?
Yeah, well, the one where he chucked his TV career in when he was making hundreds of millions of pounds a year.
It was like $2.5 million a show or
something like that, yeah. He claims that he was all messed up because he was taking pills for testosterone boosting or something like that.
Of course, yeah, he needed that,
and that was what sent him over the edge.
This is a man who used to party with 6 hookers at the same time.
Yeah, exactly right.
He needed
the odd baseball team.
Yeah, testosterone.
Now, how about this? Have you seen the front page of the Daily Telegraph this morning?
Right, it's all about asthma, isn't it?
No.
What's that?
No, I'm talking about the picture.
Oh,
the picture is Catherine Jenkins, who's also from Wales, of course.
Oh, yeah, of course.
There's a recurring theme here.
Yeah.
She's just sung a concert, right, to 450 intelligence agency workers at GCHQ.
Yes.
What do you think that's all about?
Well, I don't know.
Well, you don't know. You're supposed to have contacts in these areas, aren't you?
Well, if I did know,
what on earth are they
wouldn't
doing?
Really want to tell you.
Well, what are they doing putting concerts on for workers at GCHQ?
You know, it's known as the Donut.
The Donut?
Yeah.
Is it?
GCHQ.
Is it?
Well, it's a circular building with a big hole in the middle. Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
I didn't know
that.
that.
Huge big place, yeah.
Are you sure?
I'm certain.
But what's Catherine Jenkins doing performing to a load of spooks? I mean, it actually says
and she told them,
Jenkins sings for the spooks is the headline.
That's right, and she told them they were her heroes. Well, I mean, you don't need an explanation for that. I think that's quite simply her being patriotic, and it's a very good thing too.
But it's kind of odd, though, isn't it? I mean, since when did, civil service departments have concerts put on for them?
Well, I think it's... you've got to remember, you're talking here about the Secret Service, so we don't ask too many questions. And by the way, I was going to say to you, when I said it's asthma, you see, if I was running a newspaper, I wouldn't try and make people buy it by putting this as my lead story on the front. Asthma, millions wrongly diagnosed.
Why? Well, that's where you get it wrong, because there's millions of people already wrongly diagnosed. So if you've been diagnosed with asthma, you're going to buy the paper.
GPs
so that's where you got it wrong.
That already. Too many children are told they have the disease without proper tests.
Yeah.
That, to me, is the least interesting story I've read in the last 10 years.
Really?
Yeah. Who cares?
Well, you haven't done a more interesting one.
Yeah, you have done loads more interesting stories than that. I mean,
All right, well, coming up, I'll tell you what we're going to do. We'll give you a little test coming up next.
Okay.
Because I have to say, as much as a great reporter you may have been, editing newspapers was never your strength.
It was.
So I'm going to ask you.
I was good at it.
I'm going to ask you what your actual top story would be.
Okay.
Of today, what your splash would be. You
Sure.
can have a look at all the other papers, you can tell us. But also, coming up next, we're talking to Amy Salinger about all these billionaires in China.
On DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM.
The pressure's on now.
Relieve the itch. Talk Sport.
You've got the looks. Let's make lots of money. You've got the brawn. I've got the brains. Let's make lots of money.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. There is the Porky Quiz on the Kennedys coming up a little bit later on. Of course, there will be a podcast coming out in around about 6.5 hours from now, something like that. Right now, though, we're going to talk about billionaires, one of Porky's favourite subjects, because there used to be more billionaires in New York City than in any other part of the world. Now, they've been overtaken, according to the Global Rich list, by Beijing, which has now got something like 100 billionaires. So we know exactly what they're doing with their money in the London property market. But let's talk to Amy Salinger, who is, of course, an expert, a fashion maven. She's with a Lifetime show called $1 Million Shoppers. We're going to find out what billionaires actually go shopping for. Amy, very good morning to you.
Good morning to you, gentlemen.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Indeed.
Now, my colleague here, Mr. Parry, is fascinated by the wealthy. He's quite wealthy himself, but would like to be more wealthy.
Oh, no,
and so what we're trying to do, what we're trying to do is figure out why it is that suddenly Beijing has overtaken New York City as the sort of the world's capital of billionaires.
I got to tell you, I mean, there's always a new city where the billionaires are flocking to, and as soon as one goes, the rest follow. And that's when, honestly, all the rest of the fabulousness pops up as far as high-end shopping or amazing luxury spots, hotels, things of that nature. So billionaires go, money follows.
Right.
Yeah, but isn't it also true, Amy, that if China is the fastest developing economy in the history of the world and will overtake the United States probably within 20 years, then obviously by numerical gathering of money, they are going to have more billionaires.
They are, exactly. And, of course, billionaires, let's be honest, they didn't become billionaires by accident. So they see how the real estate market is going. They see that that's going to be happening. And they get in before the rest of us mere millionaires.
It's
and I mean,
true.
the other interesting thing, I mean, Rolls-Royce, for example, now exports more Rolls-Royces, I think, to China than any other country in the world.
Yeah.
So does this mean that all of these big, as you call it, sort of high-end brand shops like Louis Vuitton and others are all going to be piling into Beijing so that the billionaires don't have to travel to spend all their money?
100%. And the truth is that actually, if you follow the luxury market specific to shopping, Beijing has been blowing up as far as these very, very high-end, super luxury stores. It is the place to be right now as far as real estate for these luxury stores because of the sheer amount of billionaires that's going there, that are going there.
Now, Amy, the fact that they've got more billionaires now is only really a small factor which shows the enormous growth of China economically. And, of course, economic power will eventually be represented in political power and then military power. So how...
What do you mean?
Well, it goes in a pattern, doesn't it? You become the richest country, you start building bigger armies. You build bigger armies, you get more political power. That's the way the world works, Mike.
Really? Are you sure?
I know you don't understand it, but
I think you're stuck in the 19th century.
No,
mate.
I'm not. So, Amy, what I was going to say is, how is America at all levels now, business-wise, politically, economically, reacting to the fact that you're soon not going to be the most powerful country in the world anymore?
you're putting all this pressure on me as the lone American in this conversation.
Yeah, I've told him, Amy. You don't have to answer that question. I mean, I've told him you're a fashion guru. You're interested in style tips. Which you could do with a few of, by the way.
Talk politics.
Exactly.
We can talk politics.
I'd like your opinion on what I've just asked you, please, Amy.
Listen, at the end of the day, the truth is that I live in New York City, so I am quite familiar with this level of money and living in the height of existence. That's who my clientele is.
Yeah.
I think all that you say is very true. I mean, there's honestly no way that can't happen. That is the way things go, historically speaking.
Exactly.
I'm quite sure that I will not be losing any sleep over clients in New York City. There's plenty of money to go around here.
Yeah.
But if someone wants to fly me to Beijing and have me go shopping for them there on their, take their private jet, I'm totally okay with that as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So as far as the Chinese kind of takeover of Europe is concerned, because they've been buying property in places like Australia for many years, in London as well. Is there a big Chinese sort of presence in New York now?
Truthfully, the presence as far as Chinese people go, it is one of those concepts where, I work with a lot of the personal shopping departments at these very, very high-end stores.
Yeah.
I have a personal clientele, and then I will go in and work side by side with the actual personal shoppers that are hired by the store. I have had many conversations with them about the type of shopping sprees that foreign people, but more specifically Chinese people, just come in and without even batting, an eye at it, they are going in and spending $100,000 in the course of an hour.
Yeah, I mean,
$100,000 an hour.
You can do that at a place like Bergdorf's. I mean, you go in and you can get an alligator skin bag with diamonds, and that alone is over $100,000.
Right.
So
wow. Yeah.
At certain stores in New York, you can the bill racks up pretty quickly.
Yeah, sure. I used to buy my suits in Bergdorf Goodwin when I worked there. Yeah.
Really? Yeah.
Oh, did you?
Bought a very nice
You're fabulous.
Bought a very nice Hugo Boss suit there as well one time.
Well,
yeah.
I tell you
Beautiful.
what, Amy, when I finished one of my first stints in America, I went to Tiffany's on Fifth Avenue and bought all my family all sorts of silver, and to this day, it is family heirloom stuff. You know what I mean? It's that important. Now,
really?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Amy,
what did you buy? Silver what?
Silver brooches.
Silver brooches.
My niece had just been born, and I bought her a fantastic solid silver barbell. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Like a birth thing. But, Amy, what I was going to say is, I assume that there's a business now in the market that you're in to go to Beijing and hire a private aeroplane which carries, say, 60 very wealthy Chinese women, and you fly it to New York, and then you organise a 5-day shopping trip for them, and then they fly back. Now, that must be the sort of thing that's going on these days.
People, well, to be honest with you, they don't even need to squeeze that many people on a plane because they all have planes. They, of course, can take girls' trips or even guys' trips, for that matter, to be coming here and doing that. There's definitely a market for that, and I personally do travel for my clients in the most fabulous of ways to the most fabulous places.
Great.
It all depends on what they want to do. When you have money, the world is your oyster. You can do whatever you want. So if you want to take a shopping trip to Beijing or you want to take a weekend away in Paris, it's really a matter of what you're looking for and what type of unique shopping experience you're after.
Yeah, I suppose you're
absolutely right. And so when you've
right.
got somebody like a personal shopper like yourself and you want to go and, say, go to Bergdorf, do they close the store for you, or what do they do? I mean, presumably you don't want to have to mingle with anybody else.
Well, yeah. So truthfully, Bergdorf is, you could be Mariah Carey. They're probably not shutting down the store for you, to be honest with you, because they're such an institution, and they really, truthfully, don't have to because of who they are. I will tell you that working with even my clients, though, I will have shut down areas, if you will, and there'll be champagne and food, and it's really an experience. They don't have to leave that private area, and they're not bothered by other customers. So they definitely do that. And there is smaller stores, not necessarily a department store, that will definitely either shut the store early or will open up before hours or after hours for very wealthy clients that they know are going to spend a ton.
Yeah, OK. So, Amy, do you get nervous palpitations when you read the Wall Street Journal every morning and see that, growth in China has dropped from 8.4% to 8.1%, because it does affect things like the iron ore industry in Australia, which has collapsed as a result of,
It's coming back, actually, iron ore. Coming back this week.
As a result of growth stalling in China.
You're assuming I read the Wall Street Journal every morning. I'm reading more like Vogue every morning. It's slightly different.
Sure.
Mind you, maybe you ought to read the Wall Street Journal just in case there's another crop of billionaires coming up some part of the world. You know?
Well, that's right.
Exactly. Find out where I should start hiring new stylists to work for me around the world.
Yeah.
It is, I definitely follow. First off, the market follows me. Like when the collapse of the housing market occurred in 2008 and things imploded, I can guarantee you that my business was one of the first to be affected because a lot of people they're not shopping, never mind hiring a stylist to assist them in shopping. I think that was, for the uber rich, that was more fear than anything else. Of course, they're losing money, but they're not losing enough to make them stop shopping.
No,
but it's fear. It takes a moment for them to gain back their confidence.
That's true. And on the World Register of Great Shops, as we've got you on the line here, Amy, where does our very own Harrods rate?
I love Harrods. It is a gem of a place. There's only one. It's totally amazingly fabulous. I look at it like kind of the way I feel about Bergdorf's in New York. It's an institution, and there's a great love for it, and it's a true experience to go there.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you like that because, sometimes we wonder about whether the glitz and glitter of London's wearing off. Because,
no, I don't think so.
No, I
don't wonder about that at all.
No, never.
I don't wonder about that at all.
I love London.
And Amy, to satisfy my own conscience, I did all my Christmas shopping when I lived in New York at Bloomingdale's. Now, is Bloomingdale's still regarded as a great store? Is it sort of a poor man's kind of Harrods now?
No. Listen, Bloomingdale's, I like to say, is a little more of accessible luxury. They definitely carry the very high-end brands, the very high-end designers, but people typically would go to a Bergdorf's for the super high-end stuff. Bloomingdale's, you can actually access the luxury and afford a lot of the contemporary levels that are there. Bloomingdale's is fabulous. I take my clients there all the time.
Oh, yeah.
I stand by that as a great staple store. Definitely.
Oh, that's great. And just to let you know, by the way, Amy, when Mike was...
I was just going to say, so you were obviously just slumming it when you went to Bloomingdale's. You'd never heard of Bergdorf Goods, had you?
No.
You don't even know where it is,
No,
do you?
it just so happened that Bloomingdale's was at the end of my street, 58th Street, so don't worry about that.
Oh, so you didn't go far then?
No, I didn't go far. Amy, I was going to say
Why are you waving your arms about like some kind of demented buffoon?
No, I'm just trying to tell you, Amy, that my colleague, who's also called Mike, by the way, when he's boasting about getting his suits from Bergdorf, right?
Not boasting, just a matter of fact.
Yeah, I can tell you that he hasn't been able to get into one of them for the last 10 years because he's lost his bodily shape. So he,
no, actually, I was larger actually when I lived in New York.
He doesn't wear them anymore.
No, I don't wear them anymore because I bought them in the 80s. Generally speaking, I wouldn't wear a suit from the 80s anymore.
Yeah, well, I've seen you in the 80s.
I think it's probably time.
If you'd like to take Mr. Parry shopping, I mean, he's a man that could do with a bit of stylisation, you'd have to say.
I don't think so.
Why don't you ask him what size he takes in a jacket, Amy?
What does that mind? That's irrelevant, Amy. It's utterly irrelevant. You're a woman of great fashion taste. You don't need to know what middle-aged men in England are wearing.
What size you were looking for.
Rubbish, absolute nonsense. Anyway, finally, Amy, I was going to say to you, is the market at the moment, is it on the up or is it on the down?
Which market?
The fashion market that Amy works in.
Sure, we'll go with that. Let's put it this way. I can always tell what's going on based on how my clients are coming and going. So right now the fashion market is definitely up because I am busy and people are buying.
That's excellent. Well, I wish you the very best of luck. I hope the business booms. People like you are the stylists of the world. Without you, we'd all be living in caves.
What on earth are you talking about?
No, it's true.
He's lost the plot.
It's true.
Can we see your TV show over here, Amy, or is it just in America?
I don't know. You can actually see it online, but if you just look up amysalinger.net, you can see all clips from all shows that I've ever done, as well as my web series, and find me at Sass and Style on all forms of social media.
Splendid. Well, we've just tweeted that out, so thank you very much indeed for a very illuminating conversation.
Indeed, thank you very much.
You were asked to answer some pretty daft questions by Mr. Parry.
No, by my colleague here who can't ask questions.
Well, I've got a tweet here from JP who says, what's stupid questions to a fashion guru, Mike Parry.
What do you mean?
Has taken a plank to a new level.
What do you mean?
Well, I don't know. That's what he said.
Well, go on, tell me what one of my questions that was stupid.
Well, when you started
Is Harrods one of the world's great stores?
Well, when you started
I'd like
asking
to know that we're still up there.
When you started asking her about the militarisation of the new Chinese economy, I don't think she was entirely ready for that.
No, she was. She said, I can talk I can talk economics and politics. She actually said that.
Yeah, I know she said it, but
so,
she didn't answer the question.
You should listen in future instead of your...
Yes, I do listen.
You know, your square-headed, dumbbell-type mentality.
I see. You're never going to answer that question, are you? The one question that everybody wants to know.
What?
What size is your shirt? Is it your shirt?
X.
X?
Yeah.
Right. This is Talk Sport. Talk Sport, we are the two mics, and of course it's getting very nearly time for the next hour of the show when, of course, the Porky Quiz on the Kennedys will be slotting into place.
Is that a Welsh band?
It is, the Manics, yeah.
The Manic Street Preachers?
Indeed.
One of their guys went missing, has never been seen again.
He did, yeah, that's right, yeah.
It wasn't the
Richie,
Clifton,
I think his name was.
Wasn't the Clifton Suspension Bridge
No, it wasn't,
suspicion, was it?
I mean, he was one of those... I mean,
wasn't it in America, and he walked out the hotel and never seen him again?
Well, it was. I think he walked out of a hotel somewhere here, but nobody really knows what happened to him. There was a suspicion that he might have disappeared off the suspension bridge at Clifton. Then there was a suspicion that he might have had an accident over the Severn Bridge or something like that.
Has nobody ever seen him since?
Nobody's ever seen him since.
So he's reported officially as a missing person?
He has been. I don't think they've ever actually confirmed that.
Amazing.
It's a bit like the Lucan thing. I mean, and funnily enough, you talk about that guy Garth Gibbs, who was always looking around for a story. There were a couple of guys when I was working in Wales. It was around that time, sort of turn of the century.
We're going to go and find the Manic Street Preacher.
He's been spotted. I used to get regular phone calls from this one guy saying he's been spotted in Goa, and I'm like, really? Well, you're not going, I'm afraid, to Goa, you know. But I mean, there was an awful lot of that went on, and great mystery. Nobody really knows. I mean, more than likely. You know, he's probably not alive, but people said he was suffering from the kind of stresses of being a rock star to such an extent that he might have gone off and decided to live on a desert island or something.
Well, I'll tell you, did that. Peter Green of Fleetwood Mac.
Yeah.
He went mad. I mean, by his own admission, because I've read his book and all that.
Yeah.
He gave away all his wealth. He was a very wealthy man. He was the inspiration of the early Fleetwood Mac, along with Mick Fleetwood. He was a genius musician, genius... guitarist, but to make sure he could never play the guitar again because he felt that he was, shouldn't be allowed to have this great power. He grew his fingernails so long that they curled round on him, so he couldn't play the strings on the guitar.
I once interviewed a woman from Las Vegas who did that.
Yeah,
horrible. It was horrendous,
dreadful.
I said to her, "How do you answer the phone?"
Yeah,
I was talking to her on the phone. I mean, they were literally something like 2 feet long.
Just dreadful.
That's horrible, isn't it?
Horrible. Listen, I want to tell you about something I found in my science journal.
Oh yeah.
Now you know this old, really daft expression about opposites attract and all that.
Yeah.
In terms of social acceptability, it's the most stupid thing anybody's ever said.
Why?
They simply don't. Opposites do not attract. Your life partner, if you find one, your soulmate and all that, is usually somebody who thinks the same way as you politically, who has the same social habits.
Yeah.
So, for instance, all the career politicians we have in this country, Ed Balls and Yvette Cooper, they think the same way politically.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, political couples, I suppose, are specific to each other, aren't they? Because to be a politician, you have to be a bit of a sort of political wonk.
David Cameron and Samantha Cameron come from the upper echelons of British society.
Yeah.
It's not like David Cameron was ever going to find a girl from, the council,
Green.
the council house estate down the road in Oxford.
Yeah. I mean, it does happen occasionally, but not very often.
It never happens. Now, the other thing is, socially, right? I mean, you and I we like socialising. We like a bit of life and all that.
We do.
So we wouldn't get together with an academic who liked to spend her nights, deep in contemplation
Although
with
people
books and all that kind of stuff.
People do change, though, over time
No. What I'm saying is we like going out in the razzle. We wouldn't go out with a girl who likes staying in. So the opposite attract thing is nonsense.
No, well, but I mean, as life goes on, of course, I mean, and you have kids and all that kind of thing, I mean, your lifestyle does change. I mean, I don't really go out on the razzle anymore, actually. I mean, we go out when we go to...
Yeah, but when we go out, and we go out, like we went have a great lunch at the end of last year, didn't we, after we'd had a successful year. Well, we wouldn't invite somebody into company who was on a mineral water for the afternoon,
That's true.
You just wouldn't.
That's true.
No,
but then we didn't invite anybody else really anyway, did we?
Of course not. I've got the report here. When it comes to relationships, opposite detract, say psychologists, who found that contrary to the idiom, what brings people together is a shared interest, shared values and a similar outlook on life.
Yeah, but you'd never find anybody with a shared outlook on life that you've got.
Of course I would.
I don't think there is a person in the world that would have the same outlook on life as you.
Well, there's plenty of them. It's just that I'm very selective.
Right.
If people hold opposing political views and have diverging interests, they are less likely to find, less likely to be friends and even less likely to be lovers.
Yeah.
Scientists approach 1,500 pairs of people, friends, partners, acquaintances, and asked them to complete a survey that quantified their personality, attitude, values, hobbies and drug and alcohol use. What they found was that irrespective of the length of their relationship, the pairs shared similar attributes, implying that they had sorted themselves into like-minded friendships.
Yeah, but if you meet somebody, right, and I know that this doesn't happen very often for you now, but I mean, when you, in the olden days, were out on the pool, as you used to describe it,
yes.
I mean, you wouldn't necessarily put any of that into the mix, would you? You wouldn't go, I quite like to look at that girl standing over there with her friend at the bar. Yeah. I wonder if she has the same political views as me. I mean, you never thought that.
No, but you were probably only initially interested in one night of sex with that girl. Yeah, one night of Rogerisation.
Shocking.
And you wouldn't actually care whether she was a communist and you were a capitalist, whether she was mindful to drink nothing and you drunk 3 bottles of wine.
That's what I mean.
You wouldn't care.
That's what I mean.
All you'd care was the Rogerisation process.
Yeah, but that's because you're a particularly callous man
No,
in that regard.
I'm not callous at all.
What I'm saying is that at the end of the day, you might then find yourself very attracted to that person. But you might not know.
I wouldn't be. I couldn't be.
What, you mean somebody who didn't share your beliefs and all that?
Listen, when I go out with a girl, I like it to be a lot of fun. I like to have a few drinks. I like her to tell me a few, risque stories and jokes and all that kind of stuff.
How would she ever get a word in?
I also like her to know that my view of life is that if you're not winning, it's because you're not trying hard enough. And if she doesn't share that philosophy with me, she's got a very, very short-term future as the woman on the arm of the Porkmeister,
Absolutely
okay?
charming.
That's all I can tell you.
Fantastic. Stay there for a moment. We've got the Porky Quiz coming up, of course, in the next hour. This is TalkSport.
Get set for a tick-attacker takeoff when we play Back of the Jet on TalkSport with Beko, official sponsors of FC Barcelona. Listen to Hawksby and Jacobs all next week from 1. Prove you're eager about La Liga by answering TalkSport's teasers. And you and 3 friends could be in the Back of the Jet to see FC Barcelona versus Valencia with VIP tickets. Enter at TalkSport.com/win. Play Back of the Jet on TalkSport with Beko. Beko's stylish new built-in range comes with a 2-year warranty. Everything you love about Beko built in.
Park your preconceptions of the electric car. Explore the cars that are redefining the future of driving. From the innovative BMW i3 to the pioneering BMW i8 sports car. To test drive the range, visit the BMW Become Electric event between the 25th and 28th of February. Find your nearest BMW i agent at bmw.co.uk/becomeelectric. Test drive subject to status and availability.
Those generous folks at Paddy Power just can't stop giving. So, to prevent Arsenal from bottling it in the league again, they've paid for me to have my backbone removed and shared out between the players. Ooh. And the generosity doesn't stop there. For the first Premier League match on TV every Saturday and Sunday, bet £20 pre-match and get a free £10 in-play bet. This Saturday it's West Ham v Sunderland, and on Sunday it's Man United v Arsenal. Paddy Power, you're welcome. Excludes in-shop bets. Qualifying bets must be placed at odds of 1 to 2 or greater. Free bets must be used in featured match. Stake not included in winnings. T&Cs apply. 18+. Gambleaware.co.uk.
At Jewson, we're always squeezed full of great deals and bursting with the best stock. And now there's another tasty reason to trade at Jewson. Juice by Jewson is the new programme where you earn points whenever you spend. You can redeem your points for an exciting range of rewards and experiences which get better and better the more you save. You'll also get access to instant benefits just for being a member. Juicy! Start earning Juice by Jewson points today by signing up at juicerewards.co.uk. Juice by Jewson, bursting with rewards. Jewson account holders only. Terms and conditions apply.
On digital radio and 1089 and 1053 AM. Talk Sport.
We come together, opposites attracting, it ain't fiction, just a natural fact. We come together, opposites attract. Who'd have thought?
This is TalkSport. We are the 2 mics. Coming up in the next hour at the Porky Quiz on the Kennedys. We've got a lot of football this weekend, by the way.
Yeah.
We've got West Brom against Crystal Palace tomorrow, 5:30 kickoff. Then we've got Manchester United against Arsenal.
Right.
It's a big game, 2:05.
Yeah.
And then the League Cup final, 4:30 on Sunday between, of course, Liverpool
Yes.
and Manchester City.
You're absolutely right.
Will you be watching that?
No, definitely not.
Why not?
I have things I've got to do on Sunday. I'm not being malicious or anti-Liverpool
What
or
have you got to do on
anti-Manchester City. I things I have to do.
Like go to church and stuff.
Well, no, things I have to do.
Well,
you know, our correspondent Liz, by the way.
Yeah.
Is she having a funny turn or something?
Well, she
says here,
saying she's not been very well.
She says here, take me off that list of FMPs. You didn't wish me better after my heart scare. Well, sorry, Liz, didn't know you had one.
Yeah.
She called me a scumbag, right? And says I'm guilty of shocking behaviour. That's quite a, that's quite...
well, hell hath no fury and all that.
Quite provocative.
Like a woman scorned.
And after all I've done for her, I advised her to change her thumbnail picture because I thought the last one was too risque.
Oh, yeah?
And
Did you? I had no idea.
Yeah, and this one that she's got now is very pretty and all that kind of stuff.
She sent a picture of Marmite.
Yeah,
saying, I'm a lover, I'm a hater.
Yeah, I know, yeah. Oh, well, very strange.
An urban spaceman says this, if opposites don't attract, can Porky explain magnetism for me?
Say that again.
It's a scientific question. He says, if opposites don't attract, can Porky explain magnetism?
Yeah, but that is a scientific question. We're talking about human relations.
Yeah.
I mean, this, by the way, came from a report that was compiled by Professor Chris Crandall from the University of Kansas.
Chris Crandall?
Yeah.
That sounds like Chris Kringle.
Yeah, Chris Kringle. No.
University of Kansas.
Yeah, and it's backed up by a co-author, Angela Barnes, from Wellesley College.
Oh, right.
Where's that?
Wellesley College. I think that's in New England, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology.
Is that another one of the journals you get on a regular basis?
It is.
Is it quarterly, that one?
It's quarterly.
Yeah.
Once in a relationship, people exerted little influence on each other.
Right.
Though the idea that partners influence each other is central in relationship research, we have identified a large domain in which friends show very little change, personality, attitudes and values, and a selection of socially relevant behaviours, i.e., what you've got when you start the relationship stays with you throughout it.
That's true, but also there is that theory that people who become a couple and then become married and live together for many years actually become more and more alike. And if they become more and more alike, then that's a good thing for them. But sometimes they become less and less alike, in which case that probably is a harbinger that they're going to split up.
Are you starting to look like your dog?
I don't think so,
They say that owners start to look like their dog.
Yeah, well, I mean, luckily, if that was the way round it was, it'd be good. If he started looking like me, I think I'd be a bit more concerned. This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mics. There will be a podcast coming out a little bit later on. Tim the Trucker has texted in. He says, how is Porky going to find a life partner if opposites don't attract? Everyone he would be attracted to would want a table for one. That's a bit harsh.
Oh, that's very harsh indeed. Somebody called James has sent you a note, rather than me, saying try Shipyard Ale. It's made in New York. It's superb. They have it on draft in several London pubs. You come across that?
I haven't, no.
Shipyard Export.
But this is what I was saying about the whole beer situation. Is that there's an awful lot of really, really good beers out there that you don't really come across that much unless you happen to be in a particular pub. And you're quite right. I mean, some of these kind of what you call boutique names.
Yes.
I mean, quite often you go into a pub and you have it once. Next time you go in, it's not there.
It's not gone. It's gone.
So you don't really get an opportunity to kind of drink it an awful lot. But I mean, there are an awful lot of really, really good beers out there, I would say.
I agree. Now, Danny says, hi guys, any chance you'll announce a tour date for somewhere along or near the south coast?
Yes.
I would say probably yes, but it won't be until October or November.
Oh, really?
Would you concur?
Well, certainly not in the first half of the year, because we're pretty much booked up for
exactly,
that. But,
we are.
You never know. South Coast, what are you thinking? Like Bournemouth, you mean?
Yeah.
Or Southampton?
Well, we did Portsmouth last year. Got a very nice response there. Thank you very much from the Guildhall. So, Portsmouth... Southampton, we could do the theatre, which is right next to the station.
Yeah.
I keep forgetting what it's called.
Yeah.
It's a big theatre.
Is it?
Big.
Yeah.
1,200.
1,200?
Like that. You fancy that on the south coast?
Sounds a bit large.
Well, no. Come on, man. It's a challenge. We just haven't had access to the big enough venues yet.
Oh, okay.
We'll do the Roundhouse one of these days. That takes thousands.
The Roundhouse is nice. That's where I saw
yes.
What's her name? As Tears Go By, Marianne Faithfull.
Now, Lee says, if old Porky is a size X, I am an S. And I am 17 stone. Say it, Porky. You're an XXXXL, you plank.
Well, I mean, it would be very simple to solve this particular problem, but you just refuse to impart the information which is necessary.
Paul endorses that and says, hey, Porky, sure you've not missed a few X's off that shirt size? Hey?
Yeah, exactly right. Now, have you been following this ridiculous sort of backwards and forwards, pushing and shoving, toing and froing over the replay between Arsenal and Hull City?
Yeah, but nothing's been resolved.
Yeah, they have now. They finally decided on a date, right? It's going to be played on Tuesday, March the 8th, apparently.
Right.
It will take place at the KC Stadium with a bizarre kick-off time of 7 p.m.
Yes.
This is because they can't, apparently it's a Champions League night, and they can't kick off games.
Tuesday, March the 8th.
At the same time as the Champions League.
If that's now been decided, will you now tell me, has the date for the Everton-Chelsea quarter-final been decided in the same round of negotiations?
There's a statement on the FA website which says this is not an ideal situation for everybody.
Yes.
However, it's called for football bodies to come together to resolve the overcrowded and untenable fixture schedule in the future.
Well, I mean, that's just clubs whinging. They've got playing too many games. But, I mean, that's TV's call, really, because the number of games is relevant to the amount of revenues
Yeah, but, I mean, there
in.
is a problem here, isn't there?
Yeah,
because
but, I need to know about this Everton-Chelsea game. If it's on the Monday night, I can't go.
Well, why don't you find out what's going on then?
Because it hasn't been decided yet. How can I find out? No decision's been made by the authorities.
Are they going to have to wait until after March the 8th, then, until this replay's been played?
Well, I don't know, but considering that the games are being played the following weekend, that's Tuesday the 8th, the quarter-finals are being played on the 11th, 12th, 13th and 14th.
Right.
And
so just a few days away then?
Exactly. Tuesday night is that game.
Yeah.
The first quarter-final night is on Friday night.
Yeah.
So they can't possibly leave it till then because people need to make arrangements.
So the first game could be on the 11th?
On the Friday.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, I'll tell you what. Well, let's try and give you some help here, because if Arsenal are playing on the Tuesday night, they're not going to make them play their next round on the Friday, are they? And probably not on the Saturday.
No.
And in fact, if they were going to be fair to Arsenal, they might make them play on the Monday.
Yeah, exactly. So that could help me out.
So that could help you out.
I can't go if it's on Monday, but I can go if it's any other day.
Process of elimination, I would say, there's a pretty good likelihood that Everton-Chelsea will be either Friday or Saturday or Sunday.
I would agree with you.
I would say the likelihood is that you'll be all right.
I think you could be right. Now,
but
listen.
If it was, say, a late game on Sunday, I don't know what times are being set for Sunday.
Well, I mean, the prime game...
How would you get there and back in time?
I'm just telling you, the prime game on Sunday is usually, for an FA Cup game... Is it 4 or is it 5:30? I can't remember on the Sunday.
Well, that's what I don't know.
No, I don't know. The point.
Well, I think the Chelsea-Man City game was 4.
4 o'clock.
Yeah.
Chelsea-Man City. You mean the League Cup final?
No.
That's a 3 o'clock.
The FA Cup game.
The FA Cup game.
That was last Sunday.
Oh yeah, that was 4.
That was 4 o'clock.
Are you sure it was 4?
Yeah, very sure.
Right. Well, it'll be 4 o'clock then. In which case, I think you'll find it's a stayover job. You know, in Liverpool that night.
Right.
Almost certainly. Now, listen, are you following? Are you continuing to follow the Donald Trump saga?
Of course.
Right.
In fact, I posted a piece on Facebook today, or yesterday, which was a very interesting piece in Rolling Stone magazine about how really the rise of Donald Trump has been entirely and utterly down
I totally agree.
To the political kind of landscape
that
was
totally
created
agree.
by America's politicians, which basically nobody trusts.
Yeah, guess what I found a piece from? Christopher Buckley. Now, do you remember him?
I do remember him, He's a bit of an old Rui, wasn't he?
Well, didn't he write for things like
New Republic?
New
and all
Republic.
That kind of thing?
That's the one. Yeah. And he set out a piece. He went walking down Pennsylvania Avenue, right?
Yeah.
Now I used to live on Pennsylvania Avenue, as you know.
Yes.
And just to remind our listeners, Pennsylvania Avenue is the most famous political address in the world because it's where the White House is. The White House is at 1600.
Do you think it's more famous than Downing Street? I don't think
I
it is.
think it is, yeah. Now I think,
no, because Downing Street is kind of
I suppose the White House is more
the
important.
White House, but I mean, if you said to a million people, well, I mean,
No,
I mean, if you ask people
right.
what street is the White House on,
yes, you could well be
they
right.
might not know it as well as Downing Street.
Pennsylvania Avenue, you could be right. Anyway, the point I'm making is that old Christopher Buckley goes walking down Pennsylvania Avenue. I used to live at number 617 Pennsylvania, which was at the junction with K Street, okay? So
right at the heart of the city.
Yeah, right at the heart of the city. It was halfway...
It's quite nice around there, actually.
Yes,
K Street.
It's very nice, yeah.
I stayed in I think it was a Fairmont hotel there.
Oh, yeah,
when I went over for my daughter's
some
21st.
nice restaurants there and that kind of stuff. Really nice restaurants, steak restaurants and that kind of stuff. Anyway, so Christopher Buckley goes walking down Pennsylvania Avenue.
Yeah.
The Canadian Embassy's on Pennsylvania Avenue, just off it, and a magnificent building. And he comes across the old post office. Now, the old post office is a legendary building in Washington, D.C., because it was founded in 1897, and it was like the heartbeat of the nation's communications out of the political capital.
It's like a big building like the one down by Madison Square Garden.
It is.
One with all the pillars.
It is. It's just exactly like that. It's a Gothic building, so to speak, Anyway, he's walking past and he sees the name Trump on it.
Yeah.
And he's, hang on, has Trump moved in already? Anyway, what Donald Trump has done is his property development company have bought it and they're going to convert it into something, presumably a hotel.
Presumably a hotel,
yeah, I would imagine, yeah. Or a tower of apartments or something. But anyway, it means that Trump has arrived on Pennsylvania Avenue ahead of the presidential election.
Yes.
And what he said it almost seems like, as you just quite rightly said, the political landscape in America suddenly levelled out to allow Trump to come crashing through the doors and say, this territory's mine.
Well, because the thing is, people have lost, a little bit like they have here, people have sort of lost interest in most politicians. And to be honest, if you look at what you're sort of being presented with, certainly by the Republicans, this guy Ted Cruz, Mark Rubio, I mean, they are kind of career politicians from Washington.
Absolutely.
Who've got nothing interesting to say, who've had no experience of life in particular, who are funded by all this ludicrous, millions and millions and millions of dollars from interested parties.
Totally agree.
Trump, I mean, every time they try and make Trump look stupid, he just turns it back on everybody else.
Of course he does.
And goes, we're winning.
Yeah, the New York Times is a liberal newspaper, OK? It's one of the East Coast liberality.
Well, all the liberals are horrified by what's happening.
Yeah, but listen to this. The New York Times reports Christopher Buckley, who is a great political commentator, reports that many members of the Republican influence apparatus say now they can work with Mr. Trump. 12 months ago, they treated him as a joke, but they now believe that he would be open to listening to them and cutting deals or would not try to take over the party.
Right.
I mean, it's amazing.
I know, it is amazing.
Yeah.
And, of course, next Tuesday is Super Tuesday, where there's quite a lot of votes up for grabs for the nomination. I don't think there's any doubt now that Trump will get the Republican nomination.
It's incredible.
I can't see any other outcome.
That is incredible.
I know. Absolutely extraordinary.
Yeah.
We'll have to get a couple of experts on next week to find out
what do you mean a couple of experts? I'm one of them.
Well, you may be one of them, but we might get an expert who's a bit closer to Trump than you are.
Yes,
very possibly.
Maybe.
This is Talk Sport.
Still haven't signed up to TalkSport's £1 Million football game? Why not? There's a million good reasons why you should. The Selco Predictor. Play to win £1 million and a different prize every week.
This week, out-predict Georgie Bingham for the chance to win a framed Barcelona shirt signed by none other than Lionel Messi.
Download the Selco Predictor app now on your smartphone and use your football acumen to win great prizes. The Selco Predictor. Sign up for free now at talksport.com/predictor.
Get your hands on the new Samsung Galaxy S7 or S7 Edge Plus Gear virtual reality headset all 3 days before it's on sale. Pre-order now, and as part of the Vodafone Data Extravaganza, we'll also throw in a huge 10 gigs of data. Hurry, order by 6th of March to get it before launch. Visit your local Vodafone store or vodafone.co.uk. Vodafone. Power to you.
Pre-order ends 10th of March. Available on red and red value bundles, subject to availability, minimum term agreements and credit check apply.
Employers across the UK, however small the business, will soon have to offer a workplace pension. Don't ignore the workplace pension. It's the law. Visit workplacepensions.gov.uk.
Pack more style into your life with the spacious new Mini Clubman. 6 doors, seating for 5, a flexible folding rear seat design, and enough boot space for your matching luggage. Or the complete record collection and retro chairs that just said, "Buy me." The stylishly spacious new Mini Clubman. Everything that makes you stand out fits right in. Book a test drive at your nearest Mini Centre or mini.co.uk/space. Test drive is subject to status and availability.
When you need all the latest form and odds on all the day's sporting action, and you need it fast, you need the Coral Daily Download. Get all the latest news and great offers on all the big games and all the biggest race meetings in one essential package. Delivered to your ears at the speed of sound. Don't miss the Coral Daily Download every morning on the Alan Brazil Sports Breakfast from 6 on Talk Sport with Coral. Your best bet for breakfast.
Talk Sport.
Can I have your attention, please?
Get your kit on.
Maybe not.
On DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM. In a different league. Result.
Oh, thanks, Bob.
Talk Sport.
This is Talk Sport we are the two Mikes. The Porky Quiz is looming very large in the near future. It's only
Yeah.
about 10 or so minutes away. However, before we do that, we've got to do some predictions, because even though your cause might be declared lost in the old TalkSport Presenters League, sitting as you are two from the bottom, one from the bottom, actually, second bottom. We've got a load of fixtures coming up next week, and we'll do the predictors for those on Monday.
Right, let's get on with it.
Everton are playing on Tuesday. All right, well, calm down.
Okay.
I've got to try and make sure that everybody knows what's going on.
Don't worry.
So, we've got two live TalkSport commentary games. We've got West Ham against Crystal Palace. We've got Man United on Sunday against Arsenal.
Yeah.
But the first game up is a 12:45 kick-off between West Ham United and Sunderland, which is the return of old Sam Allardyce.
That's right, it is, yeah.
Did you see they sent out a tweet by mistake naming Sam?
Is their manager?
On the West Ham thing, yeah.
No, I didn't know.
And they had to withdraw it.
I see how many people there are going on about, he did a fantastic job here and all that, which, raises the question, of course, so why did you sack him?
Yeah.
Because do you remember years ago, the Brian Barwick was the chief executive of the FA?
Yes.
And I think it was Lord Treesman who was the...
I remember him,
chair.
Yeah.
And we all...
The man who got caught in the mail on Sunday Sting.
Yes, that's right, absolutely. And Brian suddenly left, and we all went to Brian's leaving do, and Lord Treesman got up and said, what a brilliant man he was. He just sacked him.
Right.
But he went on for half an hour about how this man had
I
turned
can't
up
stand
around.
all that.
Oh, it's
Can't stand all that.
Anyway.
So what do you think the score's going to be?
3-1 to West Ham.
I've got 2-0 to West Ham.
Okay.
So you don't think Sunderland's going to put the Sam Mockers on anything?
No, I don't think so.
Leicester against Norwich. Now, this is a big game, I think, because this is the start of what I described to you as the the Leicester karma.
Yes.
Remember the Bentley story about Jamie Vardy? And all
I
that?
do.
I don't think they're going to win this game.
Okay.
I think it's going to be a very, very surprising result. I'm going to say Leicester 1, Norwich 2.
Okay. I'm going to say Leicester have come back from warm weather training and gone back into this without any of the pressure of games, and they're going to really, really reignite their bid for the Premier League title with a 4-0 victory.
You may well be right. Southampton against Chelsea next.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Southampton will win that one 2-1.
I've got Chelsea winning that one 2-1.
Okay.
Stoke against Aston Villa.
Yeah,
the world's most hapless team.
Absolutely, Aston Villa written off completely now. 3-0 to Stoke.
Yeah, I'm going to say the same actually.
Right,
3-0 to Stoke, and then we've got Watford against Bournemouth.
Yeah, Watford Bournemouth.
Where we were last weekend.
Yeah, we saw Bournemouth. They
didn't look very good to me.
No, you said
to be
that.
honest.
You said that. It was a shame. It's got to be for me. I'm afraid it's a fence sitter 1-1.
I'm saying 2-0 to Watford.
Okay.
West Bromwich Albion against Crystal Palace, which is a live TalkSport commentary game.
Yeah, I think
5:30.
I think Palace will get the advantage here because I think West Brom are in turmoil now. Tony Pulis now indicating that he'll probably leave at the end of the season.
Yeah.
So that doesn't do club's morale any good. West Brom 1, Palace 2.
Well, Palace still haven't been playing well. I mean,
no, but they had a fantastic result.
Yeah, they did, but they didn't really. I mean, they didn't really play any better to get it.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be West Brom 1, Crystal Palace 0.
Okay,
and then Manchester United Arsenal on Sunday.
Yeah, Man United Arsenal.
2:05 kickoff.
Yeah, terrific. Manchester United 1, Arsenal 3.
Yeah, I think Arsenal might well win that one. I'm going to go 2-1 to Arsenal.
Okay.
And then I'm going to say the final game of the weekend, Sunday, at 2:05 as well. Spurs against Swansea.
Yeah. I hope Spurs don't blow the run they've been on because of that cup defeat. I don't think they will because I want them to really challenge for the Premier League title.
Yeah.
2-0 to Tottenham.
Yeah. I'm going to say 3-0. I'm going to say, and I'm going to put my my likely dollar chip on that one as well.
Okay.
My unlikely dollar chip. I'm going to put on to what should I put on? I think I'm going to put that one on Leicester.
Yeah. My likely dollar chip goes on the West Ham result. Okay.
Yeah.
That's the one in the middle, isn't it?
It is.
Is that the one in the middle? Are you sure?
Well, no, West Ham, the one in the middle, green one. Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yes.
What's the dollar thing on the left?
That means the one you're most sure about.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, that's the dollar one.
That's what I'm most sure about.
Okay.
And what's the least likely one?
The one in the middle.
One in the middle.
The green padlock.
Green padlock. I would say that for me is West Brom and Crystal Palace.
Yeah.
Right.
So you're going to be a bit of a loss this weekend then, with no Everton game to watch?
Not really, because I'm happy about the reason that we're not playing. And that we've got the Chelsea game coming up in the quarter-final, which is now the only game that's left this season that's important to me, if you see what I mean.
Yeah,
Everton can't go down, and they can't get into Europe, so they'll have average results. But the one game that's so important is the Chelsea game.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah.
It's the Oscars, I think, this weekend as well, isn't it?
Is it the Oscars?
Do you ever sit up and watch that on a Sunday night?
No, I can't stand it. It goes on for so long before you get any proper results, you know?
And it is one of those American kind of
Terrible.
I don't know what you would call it, just a sort of a tour de force.
Did you ever go to an Oscar party?
No.
No, I didn't either. But
No.
I got invited to one by Christopher Hitchens.
Did you?
For some unknown reason, he used to dish out the invitations to Vanity Fair.
Right, but would he not have had his in New York, though, rather than out on the West Coast?
Well, no, because it was in Washington when I saw him, and
Yeah.
he said, a couple of weeks' time, the Oscars, and I'll come over and, be a guest at my party. So he was...
You should have gone.
He was organised something. Well,
You
maybe.
could have rubbed shoulders with the rich and famous.
Wasn't my idea of fun.
Really?
Now, you said that I have this, what you think is a strange obsession with Mr. Putin, right?
Well, you do have a strange obsession.
I don't.
You do, and you have this kind of unfortunate ability to want to represent him in this country, and also to kind of defend any actions that you may or may not get involved in.
Right, well, do you know who Rod Liddle is?
Yeah, I do.
Right, Rod Liddle...
Columnist for The Sun now, as well as he used to be for the Sunday Times, right?
A columnist for these... he still does the Sunday Times. I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Well, he certainly does one of the broadsheets, and The Sun, as you quite rightly say, broadsheets, but also Spectator magazine, which is a political right-wing magazine, although he reminds us constantly he's a paid-up member of the Labour Party, but he's a very balanced commentator,
Well, he's
in my
a sort
view.
of Blairite, though, isn't he?
He's a sort of Blairite, but he also, of course, used to be the editor of the Today programme.
That's right.
So, I mean, he had a real insight into politics, right?
Yeah.
Well, he writes in the latest Spectator magazine, why are middle-aged men in this country falling in love with Putin? Right?
That's a very good question.
Yeah. So he says...
so he's got you nailed down then, isn't he?
Well, he said, some vindictive person recently carried out research about what age men are when women stop noticing them.
Right.
He said it's at 50 years of age.
Oh, yeah.
He said, after you've reached that wonderful milestone, they don't even see you. And our apparent invisibility is justified. After the age of 50, you've not only got about 9 spermatozoa left in your tests, right? But they're all...
Tests?
Yeah, your
testes?
testicles. Yeah,
Testes.
testes, that's right, yeah, testes. He said, but they're of no use to you. He said, but then along comes a man like Vladimir Putin. Of all the things which strike men when they are past the age at which women notice them, a fervid love for the Russian president is the strangest and apparently most ubiquitous development.
Oh, yeah.
It's something I've noticed increasingly over the last few weeks. I've now lost count of the number of times I've been enjoying a drink with someone of my own age group, male or female, and they've eventually leaned in towards me, glanced around to make sure nobody is close, nobody listening, and whispered, you know what? I've got an awful lot of time for Putin.
Yes.
Running rings around the West. You've got to admire him. This isn't a right-wing thing. I've heard it from the most bien pesant. What does that mean?
It means sort of, shall we say, it's almost like the bourgeoisie, I suppose.
Bourgeoisie, yeah.
You know, people who are kind of,
Yeah.
you know, not really peasants,
Yeah.
but sort of, you know, people who would like to think of themselves as ordinary.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. Or pretend to be ordinary, yeah. And the politically correct university professors over the age of 50.
Yeah.
Putin doing a blinking good job.
So you've become fashionable, finally, with your political
what I'm saying
views.
is, I noticed this trend before anybody else, and you mocked me for it.
Yeah.
And now
Well, it doesn't make any difference to me whether there's more people
Yeah.
who are in agreement with you. I still think, you know, it's a shambolic position to adopt.
Well, yes, but hang on. Rod Liddle is one of our top political commentators,
Well, so what?
as you would agree.
Well, he's got an opinion like everybody else
He's
has.
now saying he's recognised the phenomenon. Well, I recognised it first. So he says...
Well, why don't you have a go at him?
I'm not having a go at him.
Right.
Why should I have a go at him?
Well, because you're saying he's stolen your idea.
No, I'm not saying he stole my idea. I'm saying he's recognised
Maybe he's
it.
been
but
listening to the show.
He's not as clever as me. He didn't recognise it as quickly as me.
Right.
So he goes on to say, I suppose that Putin fosters an image of virility which we all remember and sadly miss in ourselves.
No.
He is also atavistically...
Well, is that what you think? Do you miss your virility and that's what you see in him?
No, I see leadership in him. I see that he loves Russia,
Yeah.
he defends Russia, and he will fight for Russia, right?
right.
So he says he is atavistically decisive in a world which seems both lily-livered and plagued by doubt. And his big pitch to the wider world...
Well, what's the difference between him and Kim Jong-il, then?
Well, I'm explaining it. And his big pitch to the wider world, to the Chinese, to the Muslim communities, to the religious faithful of Eastern Europe, and even those dwindling adherents over here in this country, United Kingdom, he is socially somewhat conservative at a time when our own leaders, from Washington via Brussels to the Antipodes, are achingly right on and let it all hang out. And he's absolutely right. You know, when we speak to Sandra down in Australia...
Yeah, but it's a very easy thing to be, all things to all men in Russia and to be the great supporter of Russia and to be anti-everything else when you're basically running a dictatorship. I mean, it's not very easy to do that in a democracy.
You know, when we have Sandra on and she tells us about the way Australia's gone, it's gone like we are now. Everything's politically correct. Close down the bars at 10 o'clock in Sydney and all that. Yeah. So Rod goes on to say, when you're over 50 years, you don't want to let it all hang out. Perhaps there is also...
sometimes you can't help it hanging out.
Well, he says he says that, even if it is hanging out, Perhaps there's also a nostalgic hankering for Russia to be our prime enemy again, a familiar and rational foe we can deal with instead of the deranged, head-chopping maniacs of Islamism who are beyond reason.
Yeah.
But he also goes on to say, another point which I made, he said, a lot of people in the West now have decided that actually Putin was right on the Crimea. You know, Russia had a very, very legitimate claim to that part of the Ukraine, which they decided they wanted to take back into the Russian fold.
Yeah, but it's a very ridiculous argument to make. I mean, he must have had nothing else to write about this week.
No, I think it's brilliant. I think he spotted something there which I spotted, and I think you'll find that great political minds think alike. In fact, you know...
So you're going to align yourself with Rod Liddle now?
I'm aligning myself with myself, and I'm just saying that when I think something like this, and I tell you about it, and you mock it, when I say that I think that they had a call on Crimea, and then a political giant like Rod Liddle,
a
political commentating giant.
He's not. He's a political pigmy, actually.
Like Rod Liddle comes along and says he has recognised everything about Putin that I've recognised. Then I know that this old expression, I am a genius, but what am I genius at?
Yeah.
Maybe it's political interpretation.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe it's political...
Maybe not.
Nous.
Well, maybe we'll find out whether you're a genius...
Maybe it's political recognition.
Maybe we'll find out whether you're a genius at the Kennedys.
Yes.
That's what we're going to do next. It's the Porky Quiz coming up.
On DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM.
A terrific performance.
Turn of pace and eye for goal.
Shout about it.
Talk Sport.
We are the Two Mics. There will, of course, be a podcast coming out a little bit later on this morning. Right now, though, it is time for what many people regard as the highlight of the week on this show. And it is, of course, the Porky Quiz. Earlier on, you suggested that you wanted to be quizzed on the Kennedys.
Yes.
And so I have 10 questions here, compiled, of course, by the independent quizmasters.
Right.
It's not multiple choice. There is only one answer. And, of course, no matter how many times you try to gerrymander the points, you know, the decision of the quizmasters will be final.
Okay.
Now, if you get one correct, you will hear this sound.
Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
And if you get one wrong, you'll hear this.
The American dream is dead.
Recognise that voice?
That was Donald Trump.
It certainly was.
Yeah.
The American dream is dead. Are you ready for question number one?
I'm ready.
Now, have you got any aids with you that you're going to be referring to?
None.
You're not going to be looking down in a mysterious way?
I may meditatorily look down, but it's not looking at anything.
I'm a bit concerned about
it's
the way... Well, you're going to look at me when you answer the questions, right?
I can do that.
I can ask you to do that. Right, question number one.
Yes.
What was Jackie Kennedy's maiden name?
Jackie Kennedy's maiden name, Jackie Bouvier.
Correct.
Yes, thank you.
That's the answer.
Thank you. Good, but
ask not.
But she was the
what
first lady to call herself Jackie Bouvier Kennedy.
Ask what you can do
I didn't
for your
ask you
country.
That.
No, okay.
Why you didn't look as if you were very confident about that answer.
I was thinking of the third name, and of course it was Kennedy.
No.
Yes.
Question number two. When was John Kennedy Jr. killed in a plane crash?
John Kennedy Jr. was killed in a plane crash off Martha's Vineyard with his wife and her sister in a Cessna aeroplane in, I think it was, I think it's nearly 10 years ago now, so I think it was, hang on, it's 16, 10. I would say it was 2009.
Incorrect.
No.
The American dream is dead.
July 1999.
Good God.
No, amazing.
My
1 out of 2.
God.
Question number 3.
I knew it was the 9 there, and I got the wrong 9.
You got the wrong 9.
My God.
Question number 3.
Yeah.
What was the name of the young campaign worker who died in a Chappaquiddick incident?
Mary Jo Kopechny.
Correct.
Thank you.
Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
It's rather long, that
2 out of
acknowledgement.
3.
I like it, but it's good, yeah.
Well, would you like it shortened?
No, it's fine.
We could have it shortened
No,
if
it's
you
fine.
prefer.
It's fine.
Question number 4.
Yeah.
When did Rose Fitzgerald marry Joe Kennedy?
Rose Fitzgerald married Joseph Kennedy. They were the 2 leading families of Boston, by the way. And they were married. She lived to 105. She didn't die until 1995. She was 105. So she was born in 1890, and I think she married Joseph Kennedy when she was 23. So that would have been 1913. John F. Kennedy was born in 1917. He was the second eldest son. Joe Jr. was the eldest son.
You don't get any extra points really. This cobblers.
So I'm gonna go for 23. I'm going to go for 1913.
Incorrect.
The American dream.
When was it?
Is dead.
October the 7th, 1914.
14?
Yeah.
I was 1 year out. Come on.
What do you mean 1 year out?
Oh, come on.
Well,
in a life of 105.
Well, you got it wrong.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did.
I got it wrong by months. I deserve half a point for that.
No, you don't. I'm sorry.
I do.
No,
I
rubbish.
do.
Stop complaining. Question number 5. What relation was Sergeant Shriver to John F. Kennedy?
Who?
Sergeant Shriver.
Sergeant Shriver.
This was the guy that caused the subject of the quiz in the first place.
Yes.
Do you remember?
Yes, Sergeant Shriver to John F. Kennedy was brother-in-law.
Correct.
Thank you. Hooray.
He was married to Eunice Mary Kennedy.
Exactly.
All right, that's 3 out of 5. Not bad.
Yes.
Question...
It should be 3.5, by the way.
No, it should not. Question number 6.
Yes.
Who is Ethel Kennedy?
Ethel Kennedy was the widow of Robert F. Kennedy.
Correct.
Thank you.
What you can do for
Hooray.
your country.
That's 4 out of 6 so far.
Should be 4.5.
No, it shouldn't. Question number 7. Where is the RFK Bridge?
The RFK Bridge. Well, I know the RFK Stadium is in Washington, D.C., because I've been there. I saw England play there. The RFK Bridge, I think, to commemorate where he was assassinated, is in... Oh, no, wait a minute, no. It's in Massachusetts.
Incorrect.
The American dream
it's in New York.
is dead.
You know what it is? It's the old, what was formerly known as the Triborough Bridge.
Yeah, I know.
Which you'll remember from when you were there.
But nobody
renamed in 2008.
Nobody ever calls it that. It's still called the Triborough.
No,
still
they
called
don't.
the Triborough.
They don't. When was the last time you were in New York?
About then. But
Yeah.
it was.
Well,
they
they call it the RFK because I was in a taxi.
Oh, yeah.
And I said to the guy, "Are you going to take the Triborough Bridge?" And he went,
Right.
"Huh?
Yeah.
What?"
Yeah,
And
I see.
and
He didn't know the Triborough?
No, he didn't. He knew it was RFK.
And just to explain to our listeners, Triborough, because it links 3 of the 5 New York boroughs. Triborough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, but people think it's just Triborough, like tribe of Indian. I'm just explaining.
Tribe of Indian.
Can we have the next question, please? Tribe of Indians.
Question number 8.
Yeah.
Which member of the Kennedy clan married in Hyannis on April 26, 1986?
Oh, Hyannis Port. In when? 86? Well, I tell you what, I think that's probably JFK Jr.
Incorrect.
No!
Dream
Who was it?
is dead.
I was at this wedding. It was Maria Shriver, who married...
Sergeant Shriver.
What? No, that was her dad.
Oh, that's right,
She
yeah.
married her father. She married
Yeah.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Oh, Schwarzenegger, that's right, yeah.
And unfortunately, their marriage foundered after 25 years.
Yeah,
It
it
was
did,
discovered that he'd had a child with their Guatemalan nanny.
That's right, yeah. Okay.
Very unfortunate. Question
Yeah.
number 9.
Yeah.
Who directed JFK the movie?
Well, that's not a question about the Kennedys.
It is a question about the Kennedys.
It's not.
It is.
JFK the movie. That was.
I mean, anyone who's a Kennedy expert
Right,
would
hang
know
on.
about JFK the
Hang
movie.
on now. Hang on. Was this movie the one that starred the guy from Dances with Wolves, or was it the one that starred Donald Sutherland?
I'm not able to give you any.
Thinking aloud.
I'm not able to give you any assistance.
Thinking aloud. JFK. No, I think this is the Donald Sutherland one. I think it was about the conspiracy theory, the grassy knoll, right? I think it was. And I think, therefore, who did you ask for, the producer or director?
Director.
The director, I would say, was almost certainly Martin Scorsese.
Incorrect.
No!
It was Oliver Stone.
The American dream.
You know who he is, right?
Yeah. So how many have I got now? 5?
You got 4 out of 10.
Well, 4.5.
4 out of 9, I should say.
4.5.
4 out of 9. You could get 5 out of 10, which would be a pretty good result. Question number 10.
Yeah.
Where was Lee Harvey Oswald born?
Lee Harvey Oswald was born in... Get this right. I know this sounds crazy, but I think he was born in Cuba.
Is that your answer?
Well, I'm thinking aloud.
Let me know when it's your answer.
Let me see, because he went to Cuba a few times, Lee Harvey Oswald. Or was he born in Russia? Hang on a sec, let me just think. I'm thinking aloud. Could he have been born in Russia? He was definitely born outside of the United States. And it was thought that he might have been put up to it by the KGB, and that he definitely had communist sympathies. Could have been born in Czechoslovakia, actually. Let me just think this one through for a minute now. Lee Harvey Oswald, yes. The book depository from where he shot JFK. I would say he's born in Cuba.
Incorrect.
No!
Dream.
Where was he born?
He was born in New Orleans.
He's dead.
New Orleans.
Yeah.
New Orleans, prettiest town that I ever seen. Right,
so that's not bad.
Got it right.
4 out of 10, pretty good score.
I think it should have been 4.5, and I think the question about the film was stupid and useless.
Why?
Well, it's not about the Kennedys. It's about a film. It's about Hollywood.
Well, you even
you
got
always
some
throw
help
a
on it.
curveball at me.
You even got some help. It's nothing to do with me. I didn't set the questions.
One of
your followers sent you a picture of the film.
I know.
And said, in case you get asked about it.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
So why didn't you look it up?
I did, but I didn't think...
But you remember who the director was?
Who was the lead actor in that, by the way?
Kevin Costner.
That's the guy from Dances with Wolves.
That was.
Got the wrong film.
Yeah, he did.
Oh, God.
I don't know about the Donald Sutherland one.
Yeah.
But
I do. It was called... It wasn't
called JFK.
Well, it was the conspiracy to kill him. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you could have had the Manchurian Candidate, but that's another story altogether.
Yeah.
4 out of 10 for the Porky Quiz.
Yeah,
Not
I thought
bad.
it was pretty good.
Not bad. I
would like your responses, please, folks, because I thought it was brilliant. Did I not identify my massive knowledge on the Kennedy family?
Up to a point.
I think I did.
I would say
I did.
Minimal knowledge on the Kennedy family.
I don't think so.
4 out of 10 is 40%. It's a fail in most exam boards.
No,
there we
it's
are.
not.
Loads more coming up next. There's some stuff going on at the weekend that we'll be talking about over the course of the weekend. Now, a few people are casting doubt on your success here in the quiz, I have to say.
Yeah.
Not that I would call it a success, but VHP says this. Looks like a win in the quiz by Porky. Sounding very clued up. I suspect some cheatery is going on.
No.
And similarly from Ashley, is Porky reading something off a screen or a piece of paper?
No.
Sounds like he's cheating to me.
No.
He's never this good.
No, I am this good. Now, listen, de Richelieu says... de Richelieu.
De Richelieu?
That's the name of the person
as
who's
in
tweeted.
Cardinal Richelieu?
Yeah, that's right, de Richelieu.
Right.
Says, very, very cruel outcome. Should be a whole point for 1 year out.
Why?
Great. Well, it should be. I mean, look, the woman was 105 when she died. You asked me in what year she got married.
Well, you got it wrong.
And I missed it by 1 year.
Well, you missed it.
Yeah, by 1 year.
It doesn't matter.
Well, you should have said, and I'll give you a full point for a year either side.
Well, because if you know how old she is, as you did, and as you worked out, what age JFK was when he was, what year he was born in, you could, by process of elimination, come up with any number of things. But you have to get it right in order to get the point.
Anyway,
I mean, as Michael in Gospel says, Porky 1 year out, it's not Popmaster on Radio 2.
Yeah, she says...
You don't get anything for being near.
Hang on, de Richelieu says, great in-depth knowledge, Mr. Parry. Now, old Sir Mark, right, he says, I actually got it right about the film, because the film you're talking about with Kevin Costner was the same as the Donald Sutherland film.
So how did you get it right?
What?
How did you get it right?
Identified the film.
No, the question was who directed it.
Yes, I know, but
so you didn't get it right because you said it was Martin Scorsese.
If
you
would
want
have asked
half a point for that as well.
I'd have got it right, okay?
Well, if I'd asked a different question, I could have asked a different question about all sorts of things. But I keep telling you, I don't set the questions.
Yes.
Here's one from Becky. Porky, first plank of Talk Sport, again shows knowledge in the Porky Quiz. Independent quizmaster setting easy questions. A lot of people have been saying that lately, the questions are getting easier.
No. What about this one here? It was a quiz on the Kennedys, Porky, not a film quiz. MG.
Well, everything...
Porky, you were robbed. It was defo 5 out of 10. Well done, Porky.
Well,
so it's officially recognised now, 5 out of 10.
Planky followers of yours, right?
Officially recognised,
Bill
5
says,
out of 10.
Lee Harvey Oswald definitely born in Cuba, Czechoslovakia, Russia, Oh, no, it was New Orleans.
Yeah, well, New Orleans is very close to Cuba, by the way.
Not that close.
Well, they think he did go to Cuba as a kid. Right, here we go. You played a Porky Blinder in the quiz, Porky. MG gerrymandered for all to see.
Not true.
You should have at least another half point. That comes from Stretchdo, or whatever his name is.
Stretchdo.
And there's one here from Rob, who's a right old big head. He says, the questions were too easy. I got 6 out of 10. Embarrassing, Porky.
Yeah.
A weak 4 from 10, so stop moaning.
Yeah,
Tell
true.
you what, Rob, why don't you shove off, you juice head?
Now, why were you playing some Mary Poppins song there?
Well,
earlier?
I'll tell you what's interesting. It's interesting. My overseas journals, right, illustrate to me that there are a group of conspiracy theorists in America who think that Walt Disney was in league with the American government in the Depression of the 30s and all that.
Oh, yeah. Well, he was a bit of a mysterious character, wasn't he?
Oh, he's very mysterious.
There's a couple of movies that have come out recently have proven that
exactly.
there was more to it than meets the eye.
I mean, he had an incredible battle, didn't he, with who was the woman who wrote the book to get the film to air?
That's right, yeah.
What was that?
Yeah, I can't remember the name of it. Mr. Something, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's actually, yeah. But anyway, the point of the story is that, when you see, like, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, hi-ho, hi-ho.
Yes.
It's off to work we go.
Yes.
Right. And then that one that we've just played out, and Andrea played the absolute classic song from the film Mary Poppins, Just a Spoonful of Sugar.
Yeah.
That starred the American Dick Van Dyke.
It did.
As the chimney sweep, we all love Mary Poppins and all that kind of stuff. You know. Well, anyway,
which was fair enough for the American market. It was just the British market where people went, "That's a terrible accent."
Well, ever since they've said it was the worst accent in the history of films.
Yeah,
wasn't
they
it?
have.
Dick Van Dyke,
but not
trying to do
not as far as the Americans are concerned.
A Cockney chimney sweeps accent. But anyway, the point of the story is the reason I'm telling you all this.
Yeah, what is the point of the story?
Is that the conspiracy theory is that Walt Disney deliberately went around making out that working class people in any job they had, whether they were a chimney sweep, whether they were a dwarf, whether they were a coal miner,
cleaner,
because the dwarfs were, we're all very, very happy.
Yeah.
Very, very happy people.
Right.
And that America was full of happy people.
Yeah.
Everybody was happy.
Right.
And that the conspiracy theory is that he made working class people always appear to be very happy with their lot. And therefore, there was nothing wrong with American society.
Right.
Because everybody was happy, as represented in Walt Disney films.
So, I mean, the conspiracy theorists of any part of the world would always tell you that, the media, whether it's in film or newspapers or television, is basically there to distract the populace from how they're being hoodwinked every second of the day.
That's right.
Which is partly why Donald Trump's doing so well, because he's feeding into that.
That's
He's
right,
saying, these guys have been hoodwinking you for years, telling you one thing and doing something completely different, taking us into illegal wars, telling you that you're going to be better off when you buy a house and then it all turns to dust.
Yes, absolutely. By the way, the name of the chimney sweep was Bert.
Bert,
yes.
yeah,
I've just remembered.
Yeah, no, I remember that.
Yeah. But anyway, good-natured Bert, played by Dick Van Dyke, is too happy and carefree given the hardships of working-class life in Edwardian London. And they say that the Seven Dwarfs, even Grumpy, would not be singing cheerfully at the prospect of working all day in a mine.
Yeah, but who are these people? Why do they not get a life and actually realise that some of this stuff is supposed to be for entertainment only?
Yeah, other Disney movies, including Aladdin, The Lion King and 101 Dalmatians, are criticised for making poverty appear benign and climbing the class ladders seem an easy thing to do.
Right.
Isn't that amazing?
Well, I didn't think 101 Dalmatians was particularly about poverty.
I've never seen it.
Neither was Aladdin.
Actually. Never seen it.
You've never seen 101 Dalmatians?
No, I don't
really?
think so.
Cruella de Vil and all that.
Oh, Cruella
you
de
must
Vil.
have seen it.
Great character.
Yeah.
Anyway, you asked where did it come from. It comes from Duke University in North Carolina.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, and by the way, sorry, I got a tweet I meant to tell you about. You know the Southern Methodist, what's it called?
University. Yeah. Did they win, by the way? Because the game finished before I got a chance to see.
I don't know. Nobody cares. I've had a tweet from somebody saying that used to be called Dallas Polytechnic.
Yeah?
Yes.
Very possibly so.
Yeah,
before it got all the money put into it.
Exactly, yeah. Anyway, getting back to this one, right? The working class have jobs like soldiers, sailors, miners and sweeps, the lowest category in the jobless poor, but they're all made out to be happy American heroes.
Yeah, but don't you think that also back in the 60s, you know, when life was very, very much more enjoyable than it had been probably for 20 years, because suddenly, you know, people had access to televisions, they had access to consumer goods, you know, they had access to cars, and in America where the kind of I don't know, technological revolution was happening quicker than it was happening here.
Yeah.
I mean, people were probably generally happy. I mean, they didn't really think that much about politics. They didn't really think that much about anything. But what they did know was that their standard of living was going up. They were better off than their parents.
Yeah.
They were better off than they had been themselves 5 years later.
Did Macmillan say?
So why worry?
You've never had it so good.
Yeah,
Macmillan was the. But what these guys say is, they say we were all hoodwinked. As you've just used that word, I will repeat it.
Yeah.
It says Bert, that's Bert the chimney sweep, like other characters, frames working class jobs as devoid of difficulty. So, for instance, the fact that when you worked as a chimney sweep all day and you went home, there was no showers or anything like that. You just lived with soot in your face all day long. You know what I mean?
Well, he did always have soot on his face, didn't he? He hardly ever looked clean.
No, but that was not a very pleasant way to live your life.
Yeah, but it's a fictional story.
What kind of bed would you have to get into if you're a chimney sweep that came home every day full of soot?
Well, I suppose the
very dirty bed, I would
be
imagine.
Quite dusty,
Wouldn't you?
Yeah, but I mean, you might be a little bit cleaner than you were when you finished working. It's a bit like guys that went down the coal mine.
Well, that's right. That's right.
They had a shower when they left the pit, but there was probably bits of that coal that never got out of them.
They make a point here. The seven dwarfs looked as clean when they left work in the evening as they did when they arrived work in the morning.
Well, they were cartoons.
And yet they're supposed to spend all day hacking coal out of the
But it wasn't necessarily
the underground.
Are you sure it was a coal mine they were in?
It also says...
I thought it was a diamond mine.
Oh, was it? Well, there's a mine, and mines are dirty and dusty.
Yeah.
It also says that social class inequality is made out to be benign, i.e., that, there's nothing wrong with
problem,
it. Yeah. And those at the bottom of the class ladder suffer little, i.e., poverty's no problem,
Right. It's the noble poor thing, isn't it?
Noble poor, they lead relatively stable lives and experience many advantages of being the poorest in society.
Well, that's true.
It says, unlike in real life, upper-class lifestyles, for instance, in Mary Poppins, remember the children's father was a banker.
That's right.
Constantly in threat of losing his job.
She was their nanny, wasn't she?
Yeah, she was their nanny, but he was constantly in threat of losing his job if the...
Yeah, so they were much less stressed out because they were down at the bottom end of the rungs.
That's right. So it says upper-class lifestyles are often the ones depicted as under more threat and more stressful.
There you go.
It's not amazing.
Well, it's not particularly surprising.
I think
you're taking it too seriously. We've got to stop for a moment, though, because the time is against us. This is Talk Sport.
The Alan Brazil Sports Breakfast on Talk Sport with the new Ford Ranger. It's the breakfast show that's always ready to take on any challenge.
Join me, Alan Brazil, and a different co-host every weekday morning from 6 a.m. as we tackle all the big stories of the day.
The Alan Brazil Sports Breakfast. Weekday mornings from 6 on Talk Sport with the new Ford Ranger. Ruthlessly tested across the harshest terrain on Earth. Find out more at ford.co.uk.
What do you think?
Oh, that's lovely on you, Jack.
Oh, yeah, it really suits you, Dad.
It's not too much?
No, it's lovely. It's really you.
Yeah, I like it.
Oh, it's a fixed rate tariff, too.
And better than the other one.
Oh, yeah, that's dead nice.
You shop around for clothes, so why not for energy deals? Switching energy suppliers could save you up to £200. And with our independent guide and links to Ofgem approved comparison sites, it's never been easier. Visit goenergyshopping.co.uk.
If your fence is the cause of some offence, then don't sit on the fence. Get down to your local Jewson before the end of March. We've got in-size fence posts from only $5.95 and lap fence panels from only $16.99. Fantastic fencing deals at ring-fenced prices at Jewson. To find your nearest branch, visit jewson.co.uk today. Jewson, fantastic offers made for the trade. Prices exclude VAT at 20%. For terms and conditions, see jewson.co.uk.
Get set for a tick-attack takeoff when we play Back of the Jet on Talk Sport with Beko, official sponsors of FC Barcelona. Listen to Hawksby and Jacobs all next week from 1. Prove you're eager about La Liga by answering Talk Sport's teasers. And you and 3 friends could be in the Back of the Jet to see FC Barcelona versus Valencia with VIP tickets. Enter at talksport.com/win. Play Back of the Jet on Talk Sport with Beko. Beko's stylish new built-in range comes with a 2-year warranty. Everything you love about Beko built in.
On digital radio and 1089 and 1053 AM. Talk Sport.
This is Talk Sport. We are, of course, the two mics, and they are the Ramones. And do you know something about the Ramones?
The Ramones, they're a famous group.
They are a very famous group.
Yeah.
But you know what else is good about them?
What's good about them?
They played at Dingwalls in Camden.
Did they, really?
They did.
Where we're going?
Where we're going in June, yeah.
Lots of famous people have played there.
They have. Coldplay played there.
Coldplay?
Enduring the Blockheads. I saw Martha and the Vandellas there.
Martha and the Vandellas dancing in the streets.
That's right, yeah. Tremendous place. We're going there in June. We're also going to be in Cardiff on May the 7th. And
Boyo.
over the course of the next few days, we'll be putting out the various ticket links. You can always go, of course, to 2mics.co.uk and find out what all the news is. You go to Facebook as well and find out what all the news is about what we're doing.
Yeah, well, I'd like to tell everybody, actually, because we did wrestle with this problem for months, was that we finally have a facility for you to download the 2 Mics live DVD. You might see some newspaper adverts on it being sold in box form quite soon, because apparently we're...
Box form?
Well, what do you call it? In like a... What do you call it?
I don't know.
Well, instead of downloading
you
it,
mean,
you get you get a DVD. You get it in a what do you call it? In a box.
Well, you get it in a box, but it's not a box set though.
No, it's not a box set. But why do they call it a box set?
They call it a box set because it's usually more than one DVD. It's
so
normally
what's
like
an
a
individual
series.
DVD cover called?
It's called a DVD.
Yeah, and what's the plastic thing they put it in? The plastic wallet.
A DVD cover.
No, it's a wallet, isn't it?
I don't know.
DVD wallet. Anyway,
DVD
it's available.
wallet. What are you talking about?
It's available in hot. It's available. Look, just shut up, because I'm trying to.
All right, we better hurry up because we're really out of time.
Illuminate the audience. What I'm saying, it is available in that plastic wallet to purchase.
Great. Plastic wallet included.
If it was paper, it would be called a hard copy. Okay,
yeah, it would be.
Thank you.
But it's not. But never mind. If you're not confused by that, don't be.
Look at the light! Don't forget to come back tomorrow for another sparkling, as fizzy as a bottle of champagne podcast from the 2 Mics.